Why?
Because, oh, hi, everyone. We're live. It's the Reformers and our Thursday Night Live, where we discuss the weekly events in U.S. politics and beyond, and, use humor to cope with these dark, dark times. And we were just noting that some of your comments are showing up for us that you left ahead of the live, because apparently they show us the pre-comments. It's like a pre-gaming, I guess, is what we're doing here. So we're gonna try to cover. There's a lot, but less. I don't know how to explain that. This week felt like a lot, but less. If I don't know if anybody else is feeling that, where we had some, positives. We sent some people to the moon. That's good. And then we also had our traditional presser of him coming up and talking to us and spewing nonsense. That was pretty normal.
Yeah.
And then, we're still in a forever war. And Trump fired another woman. So we're just going to go topic by topic. Let's start with the war. Here we are. Oh, yeah. The healthcare.
You know what would be? Oh, go ahead and talk about the healthcare. Go ahead.
I saw the graphic and I was reminded of the fact that this has been the plan all along. I get frustrated about this. It's terrible, but it's also frustrating because this is the slowest moving freight train that I have ever seen in my life. And this has been the goal of Republicans for how long, Chris, how long has this been the goal of Republicans? Honestly.
I mean, they
Reagan?
don't want healthcare. It's not in the Republican DNA to have publicly funded healthcare of any kind. But I don't understand, is this a serious thing they're floating? This seems like a punchline or something. What is this? I had not really heard about this.
I think it's a test the waters thing. I think it's just like how, he always throws stuff out. They throw things out to just how mad are people going to be if we do this, right? They do this a lot. And then just because people are mad doesn't mean that they won't come back and try try it another way, try a different approach, or just do it. But I really think when they tell you that they're thinking about something, they're flirting with that idea, they are actively thinking about how to implement that. And I think this is 100%, this was planned. This was the goal. They absolutely want to privatize everything. They don't care if people die. We need to start saying this. I am not being, yes, it is inflammatory, but it's the truth. So it's inflammatory rhetoric, but it's honest. And it's that the Republicans truly don't care if people die. This administration feels that way. And the Republicans that are elected to Congress aren't brave enough or don't care enough to stand against him and say no. So at this point, they've shown you all their cards, and it's that they don't want healthcare to be affordable and accessible to people in this country. They want corporations to rule the day, and we've seen how that works. And this is why every single economy struggles under a Republican president, and then the Democrats have to come and try to clean it up. And for some reason, people still associate the Republicans as the party of financial conservatism, and it's not. It's just the party of deflecting things and putting them off and making someone else pay for it. That ultimately ends up being us.
And part of the healthcare is also the eugenics aspect of if there's something wrong with you, it's your fault, and we should just let you go. And you saw that during COVID, that, well, we're just going to let the virus spread, and who it takes out, and that's God's will. And
100%. The marginalized people,
yep,
this is a way for them to also shave them off the top. We don't have to worry about people who are disabled. We don't have to worry about people with chronic health conditions. We don't have to worry about people, mental health is woven into this. So again, those that have mental health issues or even have, what we would consider to be neurodivergence, they're writing everybody off in those categories, which is, like you said, is the eugenics. It's also related to the Christian nationalism because of this notion. We've talked about this a lot here, and it's just wild to me. I was talking about this with my psychiatrist today that I met with. I see her once a month because I have to get my medicine, right? And it's an online appointment, and we were chatting about it. And I was like, listen, it's wild to me that there's this notion of, I don't want someone else to have something that I'm having if I decide that they don't deserve it as much as I do, or if they're not worthy of it, if they haven't worked hard enough. And it's like they somehow tie it to some Bible that I've never read. But it's absolutely this, like, God gives to those who help themselves. And so the people who need welfare didn't help themselves enough, which is a lie. And we all know that. And we understand that how the system is actively set up to help certain groups of people, white men, and not others. But this gives them an out, right? Like, this is, I think, where because we always talk about the white supremacy that is connected to this. And this is sort of how they hid that behind their Bible. They used that, they tucked away the white supremacy under that and hid behind it and said, oh, but God helps those who help themselves, but I'm going to set up the system to make sure that you can't get help because you're not white, right? And that's where we find ourselves. I think that this is all connected. And the healthcare part, the war is like a scapegoat for that. I think this works in two ways. It's like, this is the opportunity that they found to be able to deny people that kind, healthcare, access to healthcare. The war, perfect. People love wars, right? Like, that's what the Republicans think. Everybody loves a war.
I think it's worth mentioning that they're finding ways to fund a war that they won't even call a war. So it's just like, this is like going around in circles to me. Like, okay, let's take more healthcare from people, whatever's left from the big beautiful bill. I mean, I find this crazy. I don't think that's gotten nearly enough attention myself. I think the other thing we have to mention here is that the Pentagon, I think at this point they've already been deployed, if I'm not mistaken, more troops. So now they're up to 50,000 troops. A year ago this time it was in the 40,000 range. So I think it's like 54,000 right now in the Middle East. And I don't feel like, I mean, what Trump was saying last night was not coherent at all.
We thought he might say that they were deploying ground troops last night. Like, that's what I thought we were. I think a lot of us thought we were going to hear. And I'm surprised we didn't, to be honest. Instead, we got a bunch of, the war's almost over, we've destroyed everything. Like,
here, okay, so here's a clip. Let's listen to this.
Iran's navy is gone. Their air force is in ruins. Their leaders are now dead. Never in the history of warfare has an enemy suffered such clear and devastating large-scale losses in a matter of weeks. Their navy is gone. Their air force is gone. Their missiles are just about used up or beaten. We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. Iran has been essentially decimated. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. Regime change has occurred because of...
Okay, that's enough.
That's enough.
We don't need more.
That's
so
enough.
Here's the thing too. Like, one thing they haven't taken out are their drones. Iran is extremely well equipped with drones. Their drones, by all accounts, are actually more advanced than ours. They have longer range, and they have been extremely effective, and they have lots and lots of them. They have more than we have. So I think I start from a place of like how poorly this war was planned, or this attack, whatever you want to call it, was planned. So we're thinking he has a plan here that he's going to take out everything in Iran within 2 to 3 weeks, and everything, and they're going to be in the Stone Ages. Like, come on. Like, the whole thing is whack to me. And I think the fact that like people are having a serious conversation about giving him $200 billion more to fund this, like, no one should put their name on that bill. None.
No.
Like,
As he's talking about taking electricity, taking desalination plants, you're talking about major war crimes, and you're talking about setting up generations upon generations of Iranians who are going to be fighting against us in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and Chris, I think the thing is too, if he does that, if he takes out their infrastructure, they've already said they're going to go after the rest of the Middle East. They're going to take out their infrastructure. They've also said that they're going to go after universities that have abroad campuses. So this is like,
yes.
We are in the, I mean, we don't need to say this, but we are in terrible hands.
Yes,
I want you all to see this one other video because this is a very real possibility. Listen to this.
The idea that this new turn, which is we're going to accept Iranian control of the Strait of Hormuz, we're sending a third carrier to the Middle East, but that the idea that like we might just walk away and say, you guys figure it out, is truly galling. I mean, even by their standards.
Trump may declare victory in this next speech, but gas prices are going to continue to go up and up and up. Food prices are going to go up and up and up. People are going to die in America and all over the world. The carnage of this war is going to have a tail that is going to last likely for the rest of this year. So the reality is that if the war aim is now just to end it and to leave Iran in charge of the Strait, then you have unquestionably made Iran more powerful, right? Iran ends this war with more power, with more regional hegemony, with more influence in the Middle East than they started at the beginning of this war with. That is just a remarkable war aim to essentially say, we're going to end in a way that guarantees Iran is stronger rather than weaker.
I think that's such an important point. They are already controlling the Strait of Hormuz, and that will probably continue. Trump has already been telling, I mean, there are rumors or whatever that he's been saying, well, we'll end this war even if we don't get the Strait back. That is a vital, I mean, we know this is a vital economic line of not just oil, but like just, they're talking about the fertilizer shortage. They're talking about just food and whatnot shipping through there. It's not I don't think this is going to be a clean ending at all. And I really don't think anything Trump does at this point, he's already done so much damage, we're screwed. And if he does more damage and pulls out, we're even more screwed. So I just don't see how this ends. And he still can articulate why we're there. He keeps adding things to it, like, oh, we're taking out their Navy. We're going to take out this and that and the other thing. We're going to put them back in the Stone Age. Okay, what does that do?
And if we leave right away, you still have Israel and Lebanon. You still have the part of the war that we essentially helped start that will continue even after we were to pull out.
And then, didn't Israel talk him into this? Like, why are we, this is really why we're there, is because we're helping Israel.
Have y'all seen the show Weeds
Who
before?
has healthcare, by the way. They have public healthcare. Anyways,
have you seen Weeds? The show Weeds? Did you see it, Chris?
Oh, it's been a minute, but yeah.
Okay, but the very first episode, the pilot episode, the younger kid who turns out to be like basically a psychopath, Silas, right? Is the younger kid? I can't remember, but the youngest kid, it gets into a tree with a paint gun, right? Like to come after some school bullies. And the whole premise was like you can't miss the bear. Like you have to, if you're going to antagonize the bear, you can't miss the bear. And that was like the whole thing of the pilot. Like,
right.
If you're going to do something, do it and finish it and do it well, or that bear is going to eat you. Like, and that's where we are. All I can think of is that he went in and just poked a bunch of bears in the Middle East. And now they're all going to come for us. And even if we're like, bye, and we try to leave, they're coming for us. Like, it is just, you've opened this up and you didn't finish what you started. So now it's all a mess. Now everybody's fighting with it. This is it. Sometimes I wonder how much of this is like architecture, like intentional strategy, and just some of it's just
I
people
think it's
like kids with toys that are knocking stuff down. You know what I mean? Like I can't decide.
They're the smartest people in the room.
Oh,
it's
God.
a case of that, and they're just the dumbest. I think it's just they don't want to listen to anybody credible. I want y'all to hear one more thing. Where is this one? Did you guys hear about Laura Loomer? Like,
no, I missed that.
What now?
Oh boy.
This video.
Someone at the National Security Council who was on the Iran desk, and his name is Nate Swanson. And days before Trump attacked Iran, he published a piece.
Nate Swanson is an expert on Iran, and he's been. I think he's a career official. Like he's not like wasn't brought in by Trump. He was already there. He's already well respected.
Basically predicting precisely how this would go. Iran would draw the U.S. into a quagmire if attacked. That he would that essentially they would fire their missiles and drones at the oil infrastructure of nearby countries. They would hold the Strait of Hormuz. This individual was basically chased out of the National Security Council because an Islamophobic and bigoted crank named Laura Loomer chased him out. And he's no longer at the Iran desk. And when the president got in front of cameras the other day, he said, well, no one predicted they would do exactly what this individual and everyone who worked the Iran desk predicted. How much does it matter that a crank is essentially has veto power over personnel when you're trying to competently pull off American foreign policy or strategy?
Chris, it matters a lot that the Trump administration and President Trump in particular is listening as much to online influencers as he is to our intelligence community and our military, and frankly, seasoned and capable folks who have views he just doesn't want to hear. Part of how we got into this mess, Chris, was that President Trump learned the wrong lesson from the previous 2 times he struck Iran. He killed Qasem Soleimani, the head of the IRGC, in his first term, and he was warned there would be big blowback, but it didn't come. He bombed Iran last year, attacking their nuclear enrichment sites, and he was warned there would be big blowback, but it didn't come. This time he announced one of the goals of the war was regime change, and so he should have foreseen that the IRGC would use every tool they've got.
So regime change, and he said it again last night, if I remember correctly. I did.
Well,
hear
he's
it.
been back and
I didn't
forth.
watch him live, but
We
that?
wanted it to happen. If it happened, it's okay. If it didn't, it's okay. He's been.
But he didn't get. He got leadership
forth.
change. He got leadership change to possibly a new leader who is even worse than the previous Ayatollah. So
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Is Susan in the waiting room, or is she just in comments?
I don't think she's coming on. I think she's just chatting with us.
She's just saying hi. Hi,
Our
Susan.
friend Susan is in the chat,
In the
y'all.
chat.
She's on with us a lot of the times.
In terms of leadership, I don't know if you saw this. This was only just an hour ago, but that Hegseth is firing the top
I
general
saw
of the
that.
army. And you look into it for 5 seconds and you go, well, why? Well, because he worked for Biden. Because we have to clear house of anybody that has any association with Biden or anyone liberal or Democrat or woke or anything. And you're talking about all this institutional knowledge, and they're forcing him to retire. So he is gone.
I talked about this at length when we first were discussing Project 2025, and it was something that I didn't think enough people were talking about in 2024. And that was this idea, this notion that they wanted to fire these seasoned professionals and bring in Trump loyalists. And a lot of people don't understand that when a new administration comes in, there are a lot of people that come in, a lot of personnel that are hired by that administration. Some things are confirmed by Congress, others aren't. But there's intentionally this legacy of employees that exist from, each, no matter who is president, so that they can keep that continuity, that flow of government, that flow of bureaucracy. And this administration, the Heritage Foundation, the people who wrote Project 2025, this administration, their goal was to get rid of that. That takes away stability. Anybody can see, that is very intentional in terms of not only the lack of knowledge, right? And like you were saying, the institutional knowledge, but it's also the stability of that. So it's twofold. And I did not think enough people were talking about this. And I said that at the time. I was like, why am I flapping my wings and freaking out and nobody else is? This is concerning, because these people aren't hiring the best. They're hiring the most loyal. And here we are with Laura Loomer making foreign policy plans, right?
If you remember in the first term, there was that New York Times anonymous op-ed of, I'm in the Trump administration, and I want to tell you about all the people behind the scenes that are keeping the wheels on the bus. And those people are the people that are now gone. And that's why the wheels are falling off the bus.
And this is the reason that people have so much misplaced confidence in this administration. When we keep talking about what is it going to take for people to realize that the wheels are off the bus. It's because they keep thinking, oh, well, there's all these people that are going to be the checkers, right? Like they're going to be the people that check his authority. That's gone, babe.
Gone.
Like those days are done. Like you're now looking at Congress and you're looking at governors. And that's what, because like forget the Supreme Court, like that's a roll of the fucking dice, right? So now we're looking at these two entities and neither one, the governors have held their own, but Congress, no. Like, so this is I think the reason that people have so much faith in the government is because everybody really just has been working on a pinky promise up to this point, and now like it's gone. So nobody's following pinky promises and protocols. They're on their own.
No.
Did you guys hear? I'm sure you did, about the controversy, since we were talking about Hexeth, with the profiteering. Shocker.
It's a big problem. And Pete, I think you were the first one to speak up, and you said, let's do it, because you can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
There's brand new reporting in the Financial Times that makes that an alarming admission by Donald Trump. It raises, frankly, frightening questions about just why Pete Hegseth might have responded that way to Donald Trump, why he was so gung-ho. The Financial Times writes this, quote, a broker for Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Defense Secretary, attempted to make a big investment in major defense companies in the weeks leading up to the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran. Pete Hegseth's broker at Morgan Stanley contacted BlackRock in February about making a multi-million-dollar investment in the asset manager's Defense Industrials Active ETF, the people said, shortly before the United States launched military action against Tehran. That inquiry on behalf of the high-profile potential client was flagged internally at BlackRock. The investment discussed by Pete Hegseth's broker did not ultimately go ahead, as the fund, which launched in May last year, was not yet available for Morgan Stanley clients to buy.
Today, we are opening an investigation into what is incredibly serious. And both Morgan Stanley and BlackRock will be receiving letters from myself and the Oversight Committee today, asking a series of questions to preserve documents. The reality is we need answers. And we're also, today, we've contacted Secretary Hegseth. We also are expecting him to answer our questions. I mean, the idea that our Secretary of Defense or War, or whatever he wants to call himself, is trying to make money, to enrich himself off playing games with our military is pure corruption and insane. First, he should never be trading stocks as it relates to defense in the first place. And the fact that his own broker at Morgan Stanley, which, by the way, this is being claimed by multiple people. The allegation is coming from multiple sources that are being reported. And it's also being...
So this is going to go extremely slow, I predict. Like,
I don't know what y'all... What are you thinking is going to happen? They don't want to hold pedophiles accountable. Why would you think that they would hold insider traders like accountable? No, these people don't care. This is what happens when there's no accountability for decades.
I'm glad it's exposed. I'm glad they are launching, oversight is doing their job. At least the Democrats are. They're launching an investigation. They are seeking answers from Morgan Stanley and BlackRock, all the things, right? But like, I don't see compliance here. I just don't. I don't know.
The only people holding these people accountable are voters. That's it.
But New York Times, it's good to see that there's some reporting. Isn't this New York Times or is it Washington Post? Let me see. Financial Times. I apologize. So I'm so glad and grateful that there are still investigative journalists doing work, because we need that. I know there's a lot of fear. I don't think Trump has threatened the Financial Times yet. They're not CBS, but
give it time.
Anyway.
Just call him a pedophile while you do it, and then he won't.
Here's another clip.
Just call him a pedophile while you do something. He doesn't seem to care about that.
Here's another clip from last night.
Because the United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it, too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up, but it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. They can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection.
What the
All right.
fuck does he think tax dollars are? He's like, we could give them a break so they could pay for it. What do you fucking think that is? Subsidy? I can't. First of all, I also would like to know why it is that the states can't handle voting, but they have to handle daycare.
Great
I
point.
was really heartened by the reaction to Mamdani's announcement this week about daycare, and the number of comments that were coming in saying, exactly, this is what I want my taxes to go to. You know, that there were enough people, at least, you know, in comments of various videos that I saw, that were saying, I understand the fact that this isn't free, but this is what I want my taxes to do. And as many of us were hoping when he was elected, we're praying that New York City is the petri dish that proves the concept of many of these things that we would like to do nationwide, but at least we could have New York City do it and point to it and say, see, you can have nice things.
I think it's overwhelmingly the majority of people have said that food and housing and daycare and school, like children having lunches and breakfast, free breakfast and lunches at school, things like that, are supported by the majority of people. Not all of them, but again, just because MAGA is the loudest doesn't mean that they are the most representative of the US population. And I really do believe that most people understand that these kinds of subsidies enable people to be better workers, which enables the economy to be stronger, and that every time we invest in these types of programs and initiatives, that it benefits everyone. The same reasons why when we were talking about healthcare, the same reasons why when you strip money away from that, it closes rural hospitals, which then will impact you, even if you do have health insurance and the money to pay for it. So this is the same kind of thing. We keep talking about it. Republicans keep deflecting, and they keep trying to privatize so that their corporate buddies can make all their bestie billionaires can make their monies. But at the end of the day, it's just going to harm everybody. And most people are not in support of that. At some point, people are going to realize, and that's what I think we're coming to the reckoning of that. And that is why the Republicans are freaking out about midterms.
How is this even, like, just on a functional basis? How is that even going to work? Like, if he's throwing everything back to the states, I'm going to use my own state.
Not voting though. Not voting.
We're a donor state though. So does this mean we don't give our federal dollars to the federal, to the government, and we keep it here to do things like healthcare and all that? Like, I'm
waiting for states like California to start withholding their monies. Like, at what point is that going to happen?
Get screwed. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But he says this crap, but he doesn't, like, this is how he does everything. He doesn't follow through. Like, there is no plan. Like, he was saying this about FEMA. He was saying, FEMA, we're not going to have FEMA anymore. The states are going to deal with disasters.
That was also in Project 2025, and I was screaming about it. Like, hey, guess what? 75% is your bottom dollar. Like, that's what you're paying for disasters. Like, good luck, Alabama.
Where is Louisiana getting the money to pay for these disasters?
He was saying a point that many true staunch conservatives believe, that the federal government, they really only have the defense of the nation, and everything else is to the states, to the people, to the whatever. He's not smart enough to know that's what he was saying. I don't think he has a coherent policy idea in his head, but he just wants to just make statements like that off the cuff, not
use the ballroom money.
What he means.
Yeah, he can't build the ballroom now, so he's got all that ballroom money to go around. I was ranting to Chris Webb about this because I was like, hey, now that we know corporations can pledge stuff in exchange for tax cuts, can't we get them to fund education and like all these other like organizations or all these other departments? Why stop there? We can get healthcare, we can get schools funded, you get everything. Let's go. The ballroom.
I always think about the East Wing. Whenever I think about that damn ballroom,
that is I'm so upset about it. I'm still. It's that is going to be how they open the chapters in history books, because it is so representative of him just marching in and trashing our government, like just knocking down our institutions and protections for the people and democracy. And it's very representative of his leadership, or rather lack thereof, like what his leadership style he thinks it is. It's just basically coming in and tearing stuff down and doing whatever you want with total disregard for, executive powers and responsibilities. That's it. And now we don't have it because nobody could stop him. He just went in and wrecked it all. Sometimes I have moments where there's not a meditative practice that I don't even think there's a pharmaceutical that can handle this kind of frustration that I have with this. Like, I'm being really honest. Like, because I hope I'm alive to read it. Like, I hope I'm alive to read the books that like absolutely vilify these people. I mean, I hope I'm alive to see the Nuremberg trials, honestly, of 2028. 2030. What are we?
I think you're being optimistic, but
I'm gonna manifest that right now. Manifest that. I like it's just gonna take one thing, two things, maybe three things. I don't know. People are gonna shift at some point.
I think the conversation around truth and reconciliation is definitely a big thing. I want to hear from my 2028 candidates.
Yes,
I want to hear what your thoughts are on truth and reconciliation after this administration is gone. You're not skipping over that topic.
Oh, wait, I want to ask something about the war. This is something I was thinking about. Why is he telling them everything that we're doing? I don't remember presidents doing that before. I mean, I know it's him and he's performative and that's like his thing, but like, and he's got dementia, but is there any strategy to it at all? Or is this
Casey, this is a man who has a skiff, but it's like, it looks like a theater. It looks like a home. It has curtains around it. It's and he's doing fundraising in the next room.
It looks like a prom check-in, like a conference check-in.
It's an excellent segue into the ballroom because of him disclosing, major details about the bunker construction, just because, he truly does not understand what he can't say. And I have to believe there are at least some people behind the scenes that are frightened every time he opens his mouth that he's going to say something even worse than what we've heard, that will divulge some crazy secret that he really shouldn't be saying.
I admit I was worried about, I did not listen to his whole speech. I heard bits of it and then I saw clips and whatnot, but I was worried about what he was going to say. I'm tired of waking up at, I do not enjoy, I don't sleep that well to begin with. And I do not enjoy waking up to like, we're starting new wars and shit, or we're snatching presidents and whatnot.
I don't know enough about military strategy to tell you. I just know I don't remember other presidents saying a lot of this. So
they haven't done it. That's why you don't remember.
I don't think so, but I could, maybe this is, it's just 2026. Maybe warfare has changed a lot since
I remember a time when we denied our war crimes instead of bragged about them.
Yeah. Somebody brought up earlier in the comments that Colin Powell used to lie, at least, lied so much better. And I think that is what also people are sort of banking on, is that they're like, oh, well, they're just they're handling it behind the scenes and we don't have to know about it. And I'm like, no, they're telling you everything now. Like, and it's bad. Everything's bad.
There was a cohesive lie. Like there was a cohesive lie and they stuck with it and we kind of knew. Yeah. And we had come off of 9/11. So there was like an attack situation. This is like, why? Like, what are we doing there?
There's no reason to. He's never been held accountable for any law that he's broken, for anything that he's done wrong. I don't think in the history of his career ever, in any respect, has he really truly felt like, other than maybe in the like late 90s or whenever he had that, like, because he's had several financial collapses or whatever, but it was like that one that he talks about where everybody really didn't talk to him anymore. And like a lot of friends like weren't there for, whatever. Maybe then he felt a little socially ostracized, but I don't think he's ever really had to pay for his, mistakes. And he's not been held to account. This party hasn't been held to account, so they just keep taking, because who's going to stop them at this point? The voters.
All right.
That's it.
Let's listen to one more clip from last night, and then we're moving on.
And we're $4, and we have a country that's not going to be throwing a nuclear weapon at us in 6 months.
Of course, but Americans are feeling the effects in the interim of this
And they're also
operation.
feeling a lot safer.
What is the plan to bring them back down?
All I have to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon. And they'll become tumbling down. And stock prices were up today almost to a record.
I don't know what he's talking about. Stock prices were up today almost to a record. That's just not true. We're not even close. We were in correction territory. But this whole business about people are feeling safer. Iran and Iran's not going to be throwing a nuclear weapon at us in 6 months. There was no chance that Iran, we don't know that they have a nuclear weapon at all that they can throw at anyone. They do not have ballistic missile capability to reach the United States at all under any circumstances. We have troops in the Middle East, lots of them, upward of 50,000, probably 60 or 70,000 right now. They are susceptible, as we have seen. But there was no missiles going from Iran to America, and definitely no missiles with nuclear capability. So tell me again how we're safer.
Well, this is the thing where he sort of panics and he says, like, we were going to do it. It was because it was 2 weeks. I had a feeling, he just is sort of going down this road. And remember, this is a question. The original question was about gas prices.
Yeah.
So
yes, correct.
And I think how we get to this place is that Donald Trump is unable to think through second order effects.
Thank you. What have I been saying? What have I been saying? He can't lie on his feet anymore. So not only can he not remember the spiel that they've practiced behind the scenes, where they give the president the order of operations. They're basically, this is what we want to tell people. This is how it should be packaged. He can't remember that, and then he can't lie either. He can't do any of those things because he's cognitively not in a place where he's capable of doing that. And I've been talking about this forever. I was like, this is the difference between him now and in 2016. Like, if you want to go back and look to his first presidency versus now, some of what's different, in addition to the fact that they made changes with Project 2025, is that his cognitive level has declined substantially, and he can't lie, and he can't remember what his talking points, and he can't lie, he can lie, but I'm saying he can't lie effectively. So he can't lie on his feet. When I say that, I mean, he lies all the time, but I mean in a way that people might believe. The lies that he gives you are crazy and disconnected and like obviously untruths, as opposed to before where he would sort of, massage the lie and make it less of a lie. He doesn't even bother to do that because he can't. It's bad.
So, all right.
He has to lie to MAGA effectively. Yeah, but I even think that they're not starting to buy it. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because this is not on topic, sorry, but it's related, because the video he posted today, the Davy Crockett song, and he was trying supposedly to troll Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah,
by comparing her to a person that people in Texas consider to be a hero.
Like
so
a saint.
like truly
Yeah.
And I mean, if you get a Disney movie made about you, like you're doing well, right? And when I first saw it earlier in the day, I just saw the picture and I sent it to Chris and I was like, the fuck is this, right? But I didn't actually go listen to the whole song. I knew I remembered from my childhood some of the lyrics, but I don't know the whole song. And I was like, I don't understand this. This doesn't make what's happening. Then I go to Twitter and I see on X everybody's laughing about how well Donald Trump has trolled Jasmine Crockett. And I was like, pardon? So I go back and listen to it again and I'm like, oh, they're all drinking the crazy juice. That's bad. They're no ways. The trolling in the universe with us. I don't understand. So on the one hand, I do think some of the party is skeptical and they are starting to ask questions and they're like, this doesn't feel right. But then there's that core group of people that are going to stand behind him. Not only could he shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, he could set off a nuclear weapon on Fifth Avenue. And everybody be like, that's cool. Those people, those core cultists are never going to let go. So I don't know what we need to start talking about how we're going to deconstruct those people, because that's going to make the reparations after the Holocaust look like elementary school, right? Like compared to what we're going to have to do to deconstruct these people. I don't know. It's going to be a problem if we don't fix it. Sorry, we can go back to what we were talking about, which was essentially the fact that I don't think Trump can adequately lie to satisfy enough people now. This is why his approval ratings are so low and the lowest in history, and on the economy, extra abysmal, because even though he's telling people that gas, like, you know, last night we were laughing at during live how he was like, you know, we have so much gas. We have so much gas and oil. We don't even need their gas and oil. And I'm like, why is it so expensive then, right? People know they're filling up their tanks on the regular. This isn't something that, you know, occasionally people take vacations maybe, or, you know, so maybe they're not always flying and they don't know that prices for tickets have gone up, or the TSA lines are long, or things like that. But they buy gas every week. So yeah, that's a lie you can't get away with. Yeah.
Trying to explain to people that gas is a global commodity, that oil is a global commodity.
You can't, these people, somebody made a video today and I forgot to go back and check to see what you said, Chris, but I'll share it on my account. I'll share the link to it. But the girl on TikTok was like, where's the woman that said cheese was too expensive, so she's voting for Trump? Like, how much is your cheese costing you now? Like, real questions about that, you know? It's like, true. What's cheaper now? So nothing.
We have some
we're going to the economy.
Real people in the great state of Florida who are about affordability.
Well, Chris, we've been hearing frustration, we've been hearing exasperation, and I've been asking Floridians all day to describe the state of the economy in one word. I want to read to you some of the answers we've gotten so far. Desolate, really bad, awful, ridiculous, horrible, a tragedy, and finally, really, really blanked up. I'll let you fill in that blank. That last answer coming from a diehard Trump supporter who voted for the president in 2016, 2020, and again in 2024.
Leave it to Florida MAGA to give 4 words for a 1-word answer.
I think it's genius to hang out at gas stations if you want to interview people about affordability, because
100%.
When you're pumping gas and you're spending $100 to fill up your tank, you are not happy.
No,
so,
that's what I said in my video. I'm like, Bobby Ray and his lifted Ford 450. I don't even know like what the F450. Do they even go up that high? He's upset. He goes about 10 miles before he's got to get that bitch back to the gas station. He's spending millions of dollars trying to keep his truck going. I was joking. Those people that bought a boat, like, have fun sitting in the marina because you can't afford that right now. That's crazy.
Here's another clip here.
One word to describe the state of the economy right now, what would that one word be?
All f***ed up. All f***ed up. I'm paying $2,600 a month for my rent. And I mean, and that mean no bills included.
Why? Your opinion doesn't matter to him. I mean, you're from Florida. It's his home state. You're a voter. Why don't you think your opinion doesn't matter to him?
Because I'm not rich.
She nailed it right there.
Mm-hmm.
She nailed it.
That's
it.
What matters. That's it. You're not that 1%. You're not making the big money.
You didn't donate to the ballroom?
That's right. I was going to say, you didn't donate to the ballroom. Don't care. I think it's interesting, though, because Florida is, it used to be, we used to say Florida was sort of like a microcosm of the U.S. Now I think like we've seen it's been radicalized because people have flocked there because they feel like the kinship is there. But I do think that if they are having collective voices this frustrated, then just imagine what other states that actually are more like I'd love to see somebody in Virginia right now, like, because Virginia I think is more representative of what we're seeing across the US than Florida. And if Florida's pissed off,
well,
you know it's bad.
I think this comment's really important too, that we are dealing with food prices with food that was grown with fertilizer that was at normal prices.
That's right.
We have yet to experience food prices with food that has the exorbitant price of fertilizer, or farmers that can't physically get the fertilizer. and
Yeah.
choose to not plant, to plant different crops, and what that does to the overall economy. We don't know what this is going to look like, but it's not going to be normal and it's not going to be good.
People need to remember what they felt like in COVID and then also with the tariffs, what we saw, what corporations were and were willing to subsidize and how long they were willing to do that. And as we saw, it is not long. As we saw, they will not cover that bill for very long before you are expected to come in as the consumer and clean up that mess. And it's not going to be cheap.
Never go down.
Yep, that's exactly right.
And one thing I keep saying, as far as the economy goes, Trump can keep saying, "Oh, it's a hoax" or whatever. Your receipts don't lie. Like we all. And this was a little bit.
Yeah.
We can go back to Biden. That was one of the mistakes we made with Biden. Is like, yeah, the numbers are the numbers. The numbers were good. The economy was doing better. Not the case now with Trump. But then also we were kind of missing people's lived experiences, and we weren't addressing.
That's right.
And that is, we all know for a fact we are spending more money on gas. We are spending more money to feed our families, all that kind of shit. So
yeah, Susan's like, this is why my married adult children are not having kids. And if you saw the stat this week that came out that said more women, is it under 30, right? 30 and under are less, for the first time, are not, there's a majority of women, that don't have children, that are child-free, intentionally child-free. And that statistic should concern people. I'm like happy for them. I am not child-free, but I am in spirit. So I celebrated with them. But I think that's, this is just Susan's point as well. A lot of kids are still living at home. And how can you afford to live, especially with, like, if you can't afford to buy a home, then you're renting, which is even more challenging. I, as a renter, can tell you that. And you can't afford health insurance because now the exchange has got, like, what is affordable? Like, what? I was thinking about this the other day. Is anything better? I made a whole long rant, which, by the way, I've posted 2 minutes of the, I think, 13 minutes that I discussed. Are you better off now than you were? And what did he promise you? Like, what were the promises that Trump made? And I covered, like, the first 3 and talk about, like, he promised no forever wars. We're in a war. He promised lower gas prices. That's not true. They're hella high. He also promised that, what was the last one? The economy? No. Was that?
No wars? Did you say that?
Yeah. I said no wars. Anyway, the point is,
and he said groceries a bunch of times. I remember when he was.
There was nothing that I could come up with that was better, like, even a little bit. Like, I don't even mean demonstrate. I mean, like, there was nothing. Everything is terrible and awful. There's nothing better. And even the areas where he insists that, like, drill baby drill or whatever, like, those industries aren't flourishing either. Like, there's nothing is doing well. And I don't mean to laugh about it because it's not funny, but it is kind of, it's so bad now that it's kind of funny. It's like, did you take it as a challenge to fuck things? Like, was this a challenge? Because I think
those are also
succeeded.
Like, everything you mentioned are tangible things. Like, what about your mental health? Like, what about the fact that we're living under fascism and we don't know what tomorrow brings with this man? So
I
that's
think
huge.
That's the bigger issue. Is there have been times in our past, think Great Depression, where things were really tough, but people still had kids. They wanted to have families. They saw a future. I think a large part of the declining birth rate is also, do you want to bring a child into this world? Do you see a positive trajectory to life, to the world, to history? And right now, I think for a lot of people, the answer is no. And why would you subject another generation to that?
And if you're being honest, even as a parent, that's the correct answer. Because I told my mom last year, it was like a year and a half ago, and I can't remember, but it was like probably after Trump got elected. And I was like, because I had gotten pregnant before, it was 3 months before he lost to Hillary, when Hillary lost, 3 months, like, before he won that first time. So I was already, like, well pregnant by the time he took office. But by the time the insurrection happened. And then, but we saw that he was so deeply unpopular, like that we were like, okay, I think we're going to be okay. Like, I think we're going to survive this. And so I was like, I'm going to have a second child because I can't do this only child thing because I know that's bad. So let me have the second child. And so I give birth like 2 months before the pandemic. Right. And then that started. And so I told my mom, I was like, listen, if I hadn't cleared that hurdle, right, like of the election of 2016, if we had waited 3 or 4 more months, you wouldn't have any grandchildren right now. 100%, because I was getting older and it was getting to the point where it was like got to make a decision here on what you're going to do. And if I had waited and then the pandemic happened, y'all know I wouldn't have been having kids. Like, so I think that that's reasonable to look around back then, let alone right now. So that's back then. And she was horrified. She was like, what do you mean? Of course, this is, before all of this is probably at the start of all this, but I was like, no, I think most people that are raising children want to be able to focus on enjoying those kids, and economic downturns happen, and there's 3, 4, 5 years, however long, and then you rebound. And so then there's a future to look forward to. This just keeps getting worse. And it doesn't appear that anybody is going to be brave enough to stand in front of this administration and stop them. Why would you have kids they're not safe? My kids aren't safe because they have neurodivergence, and this administration has basically said that they should be in some sort of a detention center situation. They're putting other kids in detention center that are immigrant children. So what's to stop them from putting my kids in a detention center? Nothing.
They're just down the list a little bit.
Yeah. They don't have problems treating people and children like that. So I wouldn't have any. That's why I'm saying I'm like psyched for these people that are child free and out there holding protest signs. Good on them. And
I don't think there's anything wrong with not having kids.
Amen.
I have 2 kids. I'm blessed to have 2 great kids, but if it happens, it happens. All right, listen. So this to me, I'm going to put up was the most stunning piece of news headlines I've seen in a long time. Like, I literally didn't know how to process it at first. Federal judge approves Trump's effort to extract list of Jews from PIN. What the fuck? Like, the implications with that are just, I don't know. It's hard to explain what the fuck. People keep texting me. I don't know if you hear those dings.
I do.
Sorry about that.
And they
I'm just saying
it was to prevent anti-Semitism.
I don't see how
that was their logic.
I don't buy that for one fucking second. Not what are they going to send? I can tell you one thing from the Jewish people that are reading this that I've heard from. They feel very uncomfortable with this. I would feel very uncomfortable if it was like, we need a list of all of the Black people at Penn. Oh, that list is to protect me? No. I hope this never sees the light of day, this list. And I just feel like so many people I don't understand why this isn't on the news every night. This is just, the implications of this are really terrifying.
It's the precedent.
I think they can't keep up. I was just telling a friend this tonight because she had sent me the Virginia mailers and was like, have you done a video on this? Because she's not really online. So she doesn't. So I sent her my videos and she's like, oh my God, I learned so much from your videos, way more than I knew. And I said, I don't think that the mainstream media can cover all of this fast enough. And with the depth and the engage bait that it really does warrant. This isn't rage bait because it's rage bait. It's rage bait because it's a fucking problem, and we should be acting that way. And instead we've gotten to the point where now everything feels so bad that you can't have your nervous system just won't let you have the continual reactions that are warranted by it.
And it's what news are you consuming? Because I always look at Fox News against my will every day. And, the third tab over of all the issues that exist on the planet right now, the third tab over is the Tiger Woods body cam footage. And you go, Is that the third most important story on Earth today?
No,
And
I made a joke about that because I was like, I just hope everybody else is being confronted with the realities of US politics to the same degree I am being confronted with Leanne Rimes' jaw release. Like, I swear to God, if I saw one more video about her jaw release and how she sobbed after it, I was like, fuck, our country's burning down. Can we just focus?
Right.
No, people
Right.
want to see her cry about her jaw release. And I get it, we need some distractions, but that, like, right, like that, there's not enough coverage. But I think it's twofold. It's they can't cover it enough, but it's also like capitalism. What are people going to buy? And people are so checked out. They're so politically apathetic and fatigued right now. They can't do it. They've shut down.
For
Like
me,
I said,
it's
the nervous system is protecting them.
for me, it's top of mind. It is very clear that we have a white nationalist government that are really trying to embed that train of thought, like Christian nationalists, white nationalists, into our government with their decisions. I mean, like this came out, I think, early this week or late last week about Hegseth, taking down promotions, like people that were due for promotions,
Right.
two women and two
Yeah.
black people. And this seems very methodic, very intentional.
And then the rumor was that Trump would refuse to stand next to them because they were
So
black.
this
so
is
that
a
they
previous. That was actually for the previous promotion, and it was a black woman, and she did in fact end up getting promoted, and she has been at these events. But like, how uncomfortable? Like, how uncomfortable to be a black general in the military right now?
Well, and just because she was the one that got promoted this time, like now that if you know that that's the mentality, like, eventually he's going to get away with it, right? Like at some point he's going to be doing that some way, and it's not going to get reported on. People don't know about it. This is their agenda. This is the white supremacy, the Christian nationalism tied up in a bow.
And if you're close enough to retirement, or even if you're not, and you're not career military, like, or you're on the fence about being career military, you're going to look at this and go, you know what? It's not worth my mental health. It's not worth the stress. It's not worth the possible danger to myself, to my family.
100%.
Why put yourself in that position? So they'll get an all-white military by default.
Yep. I mean, and that's what but not only are they going to get an all-white military, they're going to get the kind of military they want, because remember when Tuberville was withholding all of those advancements, those appointments.
Those were promotions. Yeah,
they were the promotions. Yeah. So I couldn't remember the word. I was like, promotion. Yeah, that's it. That was the word. But it was like for a year, like it was some ungodly length of time, and these people couldn't get their orders, so they couldn't set up things like their kids at schools, or they couldn't plan their lives. They were basically on hold while this was happening. And these are higher level positions, and people were saying like this is a real problem because it's deterrent for people to stay in the military. They can because they can retire and move out and do private work that pays very well. And what's incentivizing these people to stay in a position like this that looks so volatile? So now you've got that coupled with everything else that's happening. I mean, the people who are good people are like, I'm not going to stay in this. Like, so they're not only are they getting a very white bunch of people, but they're getting the kind of white people that are going to not only look the other way when it comes to racism, but are going to happily help you create that environment that makes sure that there isn't any other people of color represented or in positions of leadership, which is a big problem.
This was another surprising thing I saw this week. I'm going to add this.
The people that were there who were younger, in their 20s, they said they...
Sorry, let me set this up. So this is, what's his name? Jason Selvage from Good Liars. He was doing his normal thing, his interviews at CPAC, talking to MAGA attendees and whatnot. And so he was on the weekend. I think this was Sunday, and kind of filling us in. And he was asked about what are young people talking about.
came to kind of see the funeral of CPAC and just confirm that it really was over.
Well, what do they think is coming next? It dies, and what takes its place?
Well, I think it's turning point. And I have to say, I think some of the things that some of the younger people that I talked to were a little bit scary, because they were saying things that sounded a lot like white nationalism. It sounded racist, to be honest.
What did they say?
Well, they were saying basically that the United States was founded by Europeans, and that is the identity of the United States. And it was a mission from God to conquer a land, and the United States was conquered by Europeans, and now that they're blessed. The United States is blessed by God because of conquering the people that lived here before. And it was more about religion and more about Christianity and that identity. And that included things like teaching the Bible in school and teaching it literally, like Noah's flood actually happened. All these things actually happened. So it was very different from the people we talked to before who were like, Trump is number one. This was it seems like it's moving in a different direction that is not Trump. And to me, I find that worrying. And I've heard this from talking to people who have children who are in their 20s or in college. They'll say, "Oh, my son is watching Nick Fuentes all the time," and it's like people you wouldn't expect. Like I think a friend of mine would say that they had a friend who just got really into Nick Fuentes. So it's happening, and you're kind of seeing it bubble to the surface now, which. It's very different from the Trump rallies we've gone to. Like the way people are talking about this is very different than what we heard in the past.
You can't miss the bear. You can't miss the bear. It goes back to that. We didn't address it the first few times.
That they learned the lessons from Trump and they don't need him anymore.
That's right.
This will survive Trump. This will survive MAGA. And this is something we're going to be having to contend with for a long time to come. These are young people who are just getting started. And the fact that you are a parent and think your kid is listening to like hours of Nick Fuentes and just everything's rosy, and you're not doing your job, in my opinion, unless that's what you want.
No, that's what they want. City on a hill. This has been discussed for so long. And, they got away with it for a while because they allowed it to be separate, because the framers were, most of them, deists. They did not want religion embedded in politics for different reasons, but they still didn't want it to be a part of that. And that message coexisted for a while. But with this new movement, the MAGA movement, what they did was they brought it back, and then they recreated history. They just lied about history and started claiming these very religiously minded founding fathers and how they, they positioned this country to be the great nation that it is, and we are the example, the shining example for everyone else to follow. And again, this all gets wrapped up with the misogyny, like additionally to white supremacy, because who's there? It's not women. I mean, there are some and they're following them, but like who predominantly is this? It's the white men, right? The young white men. Why? Because they feel victimized by a changing society. And we see this with white people all the time. When there are corrections made to address the inadequacies, to address discrimination, not even reparations, just making adjustments to fix the systemic problems, they feel slighted. They feel like they're being discriminated against. Because why? We haven't done a good enough job dealing with and holding people accountable for racism and for like all of the right? The whole, Civil War thing, we still put up statues to those assholes. So, and they're protecting those. They don't want their schools to be renamed. They want their schools to still be named after Confederate generals that enslaved people, that thought people could be, that they thought people didn't deserve, and they were 3/5 of a human. This is insane to me. How do you not see that wrapped up in this is the misogyny of the patriarchy? Like, no, sorry guys, I know I'm on a call. Well, I mean, it's what it is. It's that if you start telling men to be accountable for their actions and behaviors to women, there's a group of men that are going to be like, this is uncomfortable. I don't like this. I don't get to be in power anymore, which, by the way, is the signal that you weren't doing something right in the first place. If it's if it's that uncomfortable for you, you are probably oppressing people. And so what they did was right. And so they said, let's go get in this club. I want to go to this podcast because this guy is going to protect me and he's going to keep me in power. And that's what this is. And so it's the white supremacy, the Christian nationalism, the misogyny that flows out of that because we missed the bear, because we didn't fucking end it when we needed to, because we didn't stand up for women when we were supposed to. We didn't stand up for black women when we were supposed to. We didn't stand up for black people when we were supposed to. And now we're here. And
this is what the whole anti-DEI thing has been about. It's about, white men who think that they're being replaced, that they didn't get the opportunity that they should have gotten because a woman or a black person got that job, and this is what, to me, it's one big fat excuse for you didn't do what you needed to do. You're not, honestly, I know my family history. My family has had a certain amount of success and they've had to work their asses off to get there. My grandfather was a chemist. He decided to move his family to California. So he was interviewing out here in California. He was left in a waiting room because they realized, oh, wait a minute, that's a black man. Well qualified. He was there until dark and they would not interview him. They were like, oh, well, you have to come back tomorrow. So, he finally found, he ended up at Stanford Research as a chemist.
That's crazy.
It was a lot harder. It's a lot, I think
it's a lot harder.
It is not just we're trying to make opportunities for black people. If you finish that, it's we're giving people a seat at the table who were denied a seat at the table for generations, for hundreds of years. So
that's the problem with that. Have you seen the equality drawing where they're showing the problem I have with that drawing? I love that drawing, but it's they're not showing the precursor to that is that somebody cut the legs off of your ladder, or you know what I mean? Somebody came in and made it unequal. Right. Somebody came in and made it unfair. So if my ancestors did that, it doesn't matter if I was a part of that or not. I benefit from it. And it's not fair. And by the way, if you're good at what you do, right, it's not going to affect you because it's going to be, this is the equity that's creating is providing people who are qualified to do the job. It's just removing the barriers that are in place that prevent them from getting there in the same way that you would. So this to me is all wrapped up in insecurities as well. This is the fragile male ego. I'm so sorry, y'all. You're getting hit a lot tonight. But the fragile male ego, but especially of the mediocre white man, is a part of this too, because they have been coddled their whole fucking life by this society and they've been told that they're special when they're fucking not. They're just not. They're like everybody else. But now when it comes time where they actually have to compete against people and they're like, wait, they're way faster than me or they're way better than me. And that hurts their ego because their whole mindset and their self-worth is wrapped up in that. And
Pete Hegseth is so unqualified.
Unqualified.
Yeah. But he fits that Fox News persona, and Trump likes his getup.
He said he wants people to be less intelligent than him. That's what he wants around him is people that aren't as smart as him, which that in itself, to say that out loud,
it's a low bar.
It's crazy to me.
Seriously,
but this is a you can't miss the bear thing. It's if we are going to fix anything in this country, and if this has taught you anything, it's that we can't just hope that things are going to fix themselves, because what these people have been taught is that black people are lazy. Or white people have been really kind. A lot of them are taught that. I 100% saw it. I told you, my uncle told me that story back when I was in college, about how a great relative of mine, who I don't even think I was related to because my uncle was my step uncle, but whatever. The point is, the people that lived on that farm were out there bringing food to people who had been previously enslaved but had been set free after the Civil War, because the people from the North were coming and hunting them. And I'm like, just what? The what? I like, yeah, okay, you're coming and bringing food to people that are living in a pasture. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, that's like, they're being taught totally different history. And we're going to have to undo all of that. We're going to have to deconstruct this like a cult and go back in. And we can't just expect people to embrace DEI if they don't understand that the system was set up and is still set up in a way that's unfair for other groups of people who aren't white men. Like you cannot, and this is the problem with people, is even people from my generation, like elder millennials and my husband, a Gen Xer, who I would consider to be a feminist, still has a hard time understanding that I am not treated the same way as men. Like it's still hard for him to see that, right? Like, cause he's like, oh, well, you're really capable and you're really strong. And I can't imagine that like you would let anybody get away with something like that. I'm like, it's not about me. It's not about my capabilities. It's about the way that the system is structured. And it's hard for them to imagine that inequality is happening. So this is going to take a lot of education and a lot of work, because there's a bunch of people in this country that they believe these instances of racism happen, but I don't think that they believe that it's institutional. Like, I don't think that they see it systemically. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. This was even, I would say, even more concerning to me in the sense of, I think I've been of two minds of this. I want to play this and hear what you guys think.
Democrats and party strategists, many of whom believe the best bet for Democrats to win back the presidency may be by nominating a man, specifically a straight, white, Christian man.
I don't even know where to start with this conversation. By the way, who the heck are these top Democrats who are having this conversation? Because I'm not talking to them. I wish I would talk to them. I would love to talk to these top Democrats who are saying we need a white, straight, Christian male. So let's just look at the numbers, right? The Democrat hasn't won a majority of white voters since LBJ signed the civil rights legislation. So what I would say to you is when was the last time Democrats won a majority? Let me check. It was with Barack Hussein Obama, who won a majority, and he won back-to-back majorities. Democrats in my lifetime are not going to win a majority of the white voters. But look at where the country is moving. Look at the census. Look at the number of young people who are now non-white, and look at the growing electorate that is non-white. This idea that the Democrats need to go back and reach to a strategy that sounds like a strategy out of the 1970s as a way forward is just fundamentally ridiculous.
Let me ask it this way. Is it about the candidate and the actual campaign? The candidate and the messaging? Because Democrats arguably took for granted that non-white people of color, were going to vote for them because it was in their best interest, they believed. And they lost a lot of that vote, not by majorities, but they lost sections of that vote to Donald Trump in 2024. And that cost them quite a bit.
The percentage of African Americans and who voted for Harris and Biden are within a couple of points of each other, so it's not a large swath. The real difference here the real difference is turnout. If you look at African American and Hispanic turnout, how white turnout has surged and how African American and Hispanic turnout has stayed fairly consistent. Right, there's a 10-point gap between white turnout this past election and African American turnout, better than 14-point difference between white turnout and Hispanic turnout. Katie, if African American turnout is within 5 points of what white turnout was in 2024, Donald Trump wouldn't be president, and he can't be president. Why do you think they're trying so hard to disenfranchise people of color? If it's within 5 points, it's just the math. If black turnout and Hispanic turnout is within 5 or 6 points of white turnout, even keeping the percentages of performance where it is, Donald Trump can't be president.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but I don't know who these people are that are saying this. I will admit, though, coming out of 2024, I was just like, I don't think we're ready for a woman or a black woman. Like, I think when the stakes are Trump, I thought the decision should be easy. Like, yes, Kamala Harris. I don't care if you don't like her laugh or you don't whatever. Like, you have that or you have fascism.
I feel like if ever there was a time It's now. And this is why I was frustrated with some of the establishment Democrats that were running like for 3, 4, 5 Senate terms, because I actually feel like now is the time you could sneak a younger progressive in because people are so desperate for change from Donald Trump that actually, if you could, like they're winning, they're flipping seats. And if you could get in and say, I'm going to do everything different than this dude, I'm going to get you affordable health care. I'm going to make like people want that. And so I made a joke on yours, but it really wasn't a joke. I was like, I say we double down. I like throw a black woman in and a white woman, like just put them all there and be like, fine, you want this country to blow the hell up? Let's go, bitch. Like I'm ready to see that. I think putting a white Christian man is one of the biggest mistakes they could make right now.
I think, how do I say this? Trump won twice against a woman. And it really is pathetic. And I think the fact that Biden won, we were also in a pandemic. And I think like a lot of people were like, we got to make a change because we're seeing body bags and this guy's trying to, have people drink bleach. So that was pretty much a no-brainer.
I think you could sneak it. It depends, right? Like if you were having an election this November, that was a presidential election. Okay, this November, I absolutely think a black woman could win. I think people are right now so damn desperate that I think that it would look different. I do. That said, I don't know that 2028 looks like that. That's going to depend on what happens with midterms. If Donald Trump dies, does JD Vance take over? Like, what does that look like? I don't know. So it's talk to me at the end of 2026, early 2027 to see what the vibe is. But I do think right now things would look different because I do think a lot of people learned their lesson. We've seen so many people that said, my bad, literally my bad for voting for him 3 times, right? Like the woman at the gas station. And these are people that are willingly saying that out loud. We know a lot of people don't say what they're thinking out loud. So there's some
like saying this. I think it's different to say I fucked up with Trump than saying I should have voted for Kamala Harris. Like,
I understand, but I think them staying home would be enough. Like I totally agree. I'm not saying that she would get so much more votes. I think that they might just not vote for him. And that might be enough where we could get a candidate like that in. I think that's what it's going to take is I think it's going to take, because we're now at the point where not only is the elephant in the room, but we've talked about it and stared about it so much that now people are afraid to, like, it's like we don't know what to do about it now. And it's become almost like a taboo thing because it keeps happening, right? Like he lost against 2 women, but he won against him, or he lost against a man, but he won against 2 women. And now people are like, ugh. So I think it's going to have to happen in a way that
comment from Kyle, because he says not worth the risk in 2028, in my opinion. I think a lot of people feel that way. And I've been of both minds too. It's like, honestly, we need to get out of this shit. Like we need to fix it. But I voted for a woman twice. I am perfectly comfortable with that. I
think people feel that way. I totally agree with that comment that people feel that way. However, I think if you had a nominee like Kamala Harris, I don't think people would stay home at this point. I think they know what it looks like when that happens. I mean, the people who would normally vote for a Democrat is what I'm saying. I think the people who normally would vote for Donald Trump would not vote for Donald Trump. I'm not saying it would look like what it should look like in terms of outcomes, but I think it would be enough to eke somebody through. Especially if states like Virginia follow through, if the redistricting amendment passes and we can redistrict Virginia more fairly to combat some of the gerrymandering in Texas, and California does the same with it, and we're able to do that to push somebody through the Electoral College. I think it's possible. But I agree with you. I think there's a lot of people who think, oh, like it's not worth the risk. But I don't think they're going to punish the party if somebody wins in a primary that way. I don't think they're going to punish the party. The sentiment right now is one of desperation. I don't know in 2028 if it's going to look like that, but as of right now, it does. And I think there's enough people that when push comes to shove, especially if you run somebody that the problem is, how are they going to keep JD Vance in office at this point, his numbers are incredibly low. They're lower than George Bush's.
And you know, honestly, Kamala Harris got the blame for, first of all, people don't know civics. They don't understand the job of a vice president. But putting that aside, Kamala got the blame for, you know, Biden. If you weren't on board with Biden, she had to carry that burden. He needs to carry that burden too. JD Vance is Trump. It's like he stood by. He didn't say anything. Kamala Harris, some people think she didn't win because she didn't distance herself from Biden when it came to the Middle East policy. You know, I think that's a fair argument to make, but I think there was bigotry, misogyny, whatever.
Oh yeah,
deep.
So much deep. And I said this before. I don't know if it was on your post or whose it was, but I said somebody said, "Oh, I don't think Kamala Harris could win," and I said, "Well, I think like." Saying that she can win and saying that she should pursue it are two different things, right? So I can sit here and tell you, yeah, I think like she would win. That doesn't mean that that's necessarily my most advisable strategic path, because it is going to be a more challenging one, right? And I don't think that that is just because she's a Black woman or a woman. It's also because of her ties to Biden and because she lost. And there is a taboo. I know Trump breaks all the rules, but he seems to be the only person that can, like, or that people will allow that to be.
Biden lost twice and before he became president. So
somebody like, you know, a Abigail Spanberger.
Well, he wasn't the nominee.
Abigail Spanberger, maybe Gretchen Whitmer, like another woman that comes out strong, I think could be a Republican candidate, but it depends on who the candidate is, right? Like, and how they're packaged, and if they're able to separate from Trump and his disaster. Right now, it doesn't look like JD Vance can do that. He's trying at every point. You notice he keeps like things keep leaking. Like JD Vance's opinion keeps leaking. That's on purpose because he's trying to separate himself. But I don't think he's doing a very good job. And I think that the numbers suggest that. And we've talked about this before. He's not popular with MAGA. He never has been. And it doesn't matter if he's Heritage Foundation's bitch boy. Like, it's not enough. Like, apparently not even money is enough to make people like JD Vance. And I think that's also the inauthenticity of him, because he isn't this way. Obviously, he said there's a whole song about him being a never Trump man. He thought Trump was a Nazi, and now he's on board. He's paid, and people know that. They feel it, they can sense it, they know it. And so I don't think he could. I think a woman would destroy him. I think if like a Hillary, like not saying Hillary would run, but like
bring it on.
I think that they would destroy him. So I just think intentionally picking a white man is a mistake. And I say let the primaries play out. Just have a plan. Have a fucking plan.
I think a bigger mistake or problem are these candidates, I don't care what their gender or race is, who are capitulating or playing to the right because they think they need to win them over in order to win. That is such a turnoff to me and people on the people on the left, progressives. Like, don't try and act like you're going to win over Republicans. Just do the right thing. Economic.
I think that's a turnoff in normal times.
Yeah,
I think you're right. In normal times
is what you need to be on right now. They can do their cultural bullshit. Do economic populism, otherwise known as kitchen table issues, but it's deeper than that, right? You need to, talk about daycare affordability, talk about, cost of living, talk about education, talk about, family paid leave, like all the things that Mandami talked about, and he's actually progressing. I think that, learn those lessons, people. I mean, if you're going to start talking about like, we're too woke and this, that, and the other thing, you're going to lose.
Don't learn the wrong lessons. Biden was the bridge candidate. Biden was the straight white male we needed in that moment to correct that error.
That's a really good point, Chris.
If Kamala Harris had a little more runway, more than that 107 days, she would have, I think she would have won. Had we had a normal primary season, had Biden stuck to his original plan of I'm going to be one term, and we had a normal primary season, I think whatever Democrat would have come out of that would have won. And also, I stick to this. I think don't underestimate JD Vance, because
I agree.
I fully believe that you are going to be running against an incumbent JD Vance, not a vice president JD
No, and
Vance.
I think that that's a really good point too. But I think you're wrong about the lengthier period, and the reason that I say that is because it's kind of like a Hillary's emails thing. The assassination was like the Hillary's emails thing, and I think the fake assassination attempt. Pardon me.
I'm right there with you.
That was orchestrated intentionally, and the timing was intentional, and everything about that. Like, I think I think that was enough. But I think even if she had, I think if she'd had a longer, it wouldn't have mattered. I think that took the sail, or the
wind out
the
of the
power,
sails.
the wind out of the sails, and I think that it emboldened their base. And I don't think we had a counter to that emboldened our base enough, right? And I don't think that there would have been, is my point. I don't know that something like that existed, because this was a manufactured fake event for for political gain. That was the purpose. And the same with Hillary's emails, right? Like, that was done intentionally to undermine her. And it worked. And I think that this is what they always do. They come out the last 20% of a campaign, and the Republicans start throwing stuff out and trying to see what they can do to win. And they're going to do this every time. And I think that would have not changed much unless people were more aware of that and were prepared for that. Maybe, like, if we did it again, knowing that they're willing to pretend to shoot a president and have a photo op over it, that maybe things would be different. But I totally agree with you about JD Vance. It absolutely depends on how he's positioned and how far he's separated from the administration, and if he's enabled as a president to do that. People might see him more reliably and credibly because he's got that bully pulpit, and that's 100% a thing.
Speaking of JD Vance, I think he has a bigger problem with Trump than Kamala had with Joe Biden.
Oh yeah,
because
100%.
Not only is Trump like the lowest rated president in history, right, or in modern history, Trump is not going to let JD Vance be front and center.
Yes,
I'm gonna assume for now that Trump is
1,000%
alive. As we approach 2028, he is not going to be okay with JD Vance saying what JD Vance needs to say in order to win, and he's not going to be silent about it. So
that's so true.
I think that's a whole other thing that I'm calling it now. He has
and in some respects, now I know this isn't true of the left, but Biden's reputation has 100% improved for most people are like, oh man, I miss Biden. Like, now I know that like our sect of the internet still hates Biden and like whatever else. But I'm telling you, the average person at home is like, oh, we might have been kind of wrong about him. Cause like, look at Trump, right? Like, and they're seeing his like inability to speak, and he's slurring and he's struggling and all that. They're like, and Biden's out there on a bike. He's out there talking with people at airport. Like and they're like, oh, well, we might have effed that one up. Right. So I think I'm not suggesting Kamala should run again, but I'm saying if she did, I really do think Biden's reputation has been restored through Trump's inadequacy and his failings and everything that he's done. Everyone's like, oh, Biden wasn't so bad actually. And the Biden administration was kind of with it. This one's a mess. So JD Vance is going to have that hurdle, and it's, I'm going to like enjoy watching him try and struggle over it.
I think it's going to be pure
chaos,
pure joy.
Yeah.
I'm going to really enjoy man trying to dig out from under Trump's, foot.
He's awkward as fuck.
Trump's
so
foot
it
is going to be on his neck.
He does not like sharing the spotlight ever. Oh, it's going to be great.
So let's go ahead, Casey.
Speaking of, I did a video on this because not like y'all know I like talking about this, not for just the salaciousness of like returning to tabloid news, but because this party is constantly trying to stand up and act as if they are the purveyors of morality and ethics and goodness, and every single fucking time they have bodies buried. They are doing the things they're claiming other people are doing. In most instances they aren't. We aren't, whatever. It's not the drag queens. They aren't the problem. And I would like to say very loudly that if this is your kink, is to cross dress and have people talk dirty to you, that's totally fine. I'm so with it. Like, enjoy your life. But don't you dare try to make policy and tell trans people they aren't people and that they don't deserve human rights. Don't you dare try to vilify other people who cross-dress and live that lifestyle. This is the problem and the hypocrisy. This is so representative of the Republican Party living this duality of acting as if they are God's servants, but grifting the fuck out of this country.
I agree. I do not care that he wore oversized titties and they were uneven and he thought that would be good. Like, whatever. I don't care. But so many of us clocked the hypocrisy there, and it's the right. It's all of them. And listen, why does Grindr, go down at CPAC? Like, Grindr crashes during CPAC conventions and shit. Nobody gives a fuck, but they sure do. They do.
Yep.
So speaking of hypocrisy, I love me some side-by-side videos, so I did one on
Governor Noem has a bill that will give South Dakota the strongest law in the nation protecting female sports.
South Dakota's Republican governor in a new national ad betting on her 2022 re-election campaign, targeting transgender athletes and promoting a bill banning trans girls from playing sports in school. She's running on the idea of less government, more freedom, according to her website, and joins a group of conservative Republican leaders who oppose trans rights.
I'm Governor Kristi Noem, and recently I have challenged the Board of Regents that works with our university system to put some reforms in place to make sure we deliver better outcomes for our students and we give them a quality education. I want them to remove all references to preferred pronouns and also to remove any policies or procedures that prohibit students from exercising free speech. They need to prohibit drag shows on university campuses.
Now, I just want to point out one thing. She just said she doesn't want people to have free use of pronouns, but then she also wants them to have free speech on campus. Like, so she's like, the hypocrisy was not hard to find. I just looked into like Kristi Noem trans or Kristi Noem, like, I don't know. I'm happy for her that she's experiencing this. I'm gonna be honest.
It's deserved. It's very well deserved.
She was so blindsided, and I don't believe she was blindsided.
She wasn't blindsided.
She was not. She 100% knew this. And I made the joke. I was like, if this happened to me where my husband was in this cross-dressing scandal, I would definitely go cry on the shoulders of the man I've been fucking for years that is also my coworker. Like, yeah, I cry on the shoulder. Like, what do you mean? She 100% knew. I with this, again, in addition to
the whole time, for sure.
Oh yeah, the whole time. And it just speaks to the fact that they are all performance artists. This is not a party of politics. This is a party of actors, and they're bad at it. Yeah. And while they're doing that, by the way, while they're performing for you, they're also taking more power away from you. The party that keeps saying that they are the party that's going to take less federal power is the party that keeps taking more power away from the states. And this is the part that Democrats as the party should be working better and more cohesively to stress to these people in these red states. Because when we're talking about voting rights and things like that, this is, once they take that power, it's like what Chris Q said, it's not coming back to you. It's like the same thing as like the corporations. Once they raise those prices, it's not coming back down. It's the same for these federal powers. They're not just going to take it for a minute and give it back. You're going to lose that. And they're going to keep working and taking more and more power away from you. That was your whole platform, bro. Like, that's why you insisted you were conservative, is you had these libertarian views. You didn't want the government. And then you look the other way when it was abortion, right? You're like, okay, you can regulate that. Then it was, okay, let's regulate gay marriage. Like, let's try to like take that away. Like, that's because of all of my evangelical beliefs. But now what you've done is you've opened the door to let them just keep taking power away. So when you open that door, now you've opened it not just to regulating abortion, not just to regulating LGBTQ, but you're also now opening the door to letting them regulate every other part of your life and what you can do. And that should scare you.
So let's move on to what's going on with MAGA right now. In particular, the bro casters or whatever you want to call them.
Not the progressives, the
brocasters. That's what
the brocasters.
Okay, so
that's funny.
Listen to this. Watch this.
Saying this is just to cover up the Epstein files. That seems a little ridiculous. This seems pretty egregious to cover up the Epstein file. You know what I mean? Like, because it's one, we're not forgetting about the Epstein files. You guys think it's just a cover up for the Epstein files? This seems insane.
It can't hurt.
They're talking about the war.
It's one of those things that's convenient. Maybe it moved up like a month.
Yeah.
Maybe it moved up 2 weeks or something. You know? They just found somebody dumb enough to go along with it. Like, Trump was dumb enough to do it. They've been trying to get him.
I want to pause right there because these are guys who supported Trump who are calling him dumb. It gets more interesting. So this is like, and they have millions of viewers.
They're going to do this forever.
Facts.
And then they found a guy stupid enough to do it, and they probably filled his head as, you're going to be the liberator, the great hero, the person that brings peace to the world.
But make America great again, and then it becomes a movement of a bunch of dorks, because a lot of them are dorks. A lot of them, these really weird, uninteresting, unintelligent people that have got something they cling to. And there's a lot of people that are just real, genuine patriots. And they're all lumped into this one group, and you got to accept the dorks, too.
It's not sudden.
I mean, I just love the fact that he's calling out, I mean, to me, that's his cohort. I mean, he put himself
If Joe
there.
Rogan calls you stupid.
Girl.
Yeah, there you go. That's it, dude. So,
yeah. I feel like this is it's wonderful to see, because the people like Nick Fuentes who have jumped in on this are exactly the people that they're talking about. And it's exactly why they jumped into this, is because they were the people that didn't have that power, and that this is how they're going to get it, right? Is to oppress others. And they never were popular in high school. So now, now here they are. And I think the Epstein files was one thing. And I do agree that that's like a big, if you go on to X or whatever, there's always going to be a contingency of people who are like, that was our bottom line, right? Like that was our hill to die on, and you promised and you didn't. And so now we're done. But there are other people that the right managed to message effectively somehow. Listen, if pedophiles aren't your bottom, like if that isn't where it bottoms out for you, I don't understand what kind of hell you live in. I don't want to see it. But apparently the Republicans have managed to message people out of that. And so you'll see now in my comments that when you say something like, well, your party supports pedophiles, they're like, no, that's just a lie manufactured by the Democrat. Like now the Epstein files are all a lie. It's like a conspiracy or whatever. But the economy piece is the next, like the war thing was like the next one. That coupled with the economy, I think kind of go together, obviously. And we're going to focus on America first. Now, they've also managed to talk their way out of that for some people, because they're like, America first means protecting the rest of the world so that we look big and powerful and strong, right? But again, they've lost more people. So every single time they are able to retain some of their base, but with these like talking points, but they still lose some of these core people. And some of them are big influencers and have big audiences like this. And they're not audiences for us, right? Like none of us are watching Joe Rogan. It's not like he turned around and people are like, oh, wow, Joe Rogan's amazing. Like none of us care. Like we're not watching him. But the people that were very pro-Trump still are. And he's they're hearing it.
Joe Rogan's calling him stupid and imbeciles and whatnot.
And we know that strength and coolness is like a thing for them, right? Like that's a big deal.
If we're talking about like young men who voted for Trump, however they identify politically, they voted for Trump. And then you have, Carolyn, the press secretary, doesn't deny that they're going to do drafts. And then you're going to war and you're sending more troops. That's a recipe to lose men. Like I was a young man once, and I remember Desert Storm, and I was not going to be drafted. And I was protesting with my buddies, women and men, in front of the federal building in Westwood, as part of Los Angeles. I was activated. I was already going to vote and whatnot, but that was not the business for me. And that was also a war about oil. So I think it's very different when we're talking about like we were attacked at 9/11 and a bunch of people enlisted to go fight a war that we felt like we were defending this country. I don't think who thinks that. I mean, that's people that are like convincing themselves of that. Your average 20-year-old or whatever, bro, is like, I'm not doing this for Trump to, get some oil or whatever the fuck he thinks he's doing because he's not really clear.
I don't understand why the Democrats don't package it this way. And by the way, if anybody in the establishment is watching, please call me. I won't do it for free now, but I will do it for a reduced rate because I think it would. If you listen to me, I think it would be fun. This collaboration here. I think you should say like, yeah, hey, like our party supports DUI, but we won't draft you. And I think that they should start leading with stuff like that, right? Like, yeah, like we're gonna make you like treat women fairly, but we're also not gonna draft you and send you to die in the Middle East. That's in a war that never ends. So pick us. Like, I think you should be really cheeky about it. Like at this point, like just start making fun of Republicans, like just because they are a mess. They are a mess, and there's a bunch of people in that party willing to not necessarily convert, but maybe stay home on election day if you embarrass them badly enough. And I think that's what you should start doing is like we talked about this as a strategy for the reformers early on. Like one of the strategies we talked about was we gotta remove Chuck Schumer, which that's still a thing. But the second thing was like, we got to start talking about how this man is one of the most inept, like weak ass leaders in the history of presidents. And as somebody that's in a collective initiative that's really concerned about strength and how they look, this does look bad. And he is an embarrassment. And the whole world is making fun of him right now. And the more people that see that, the less willing they are going to be to come to his defense.
So one thing I've been doing are posting clips. I always post news clips. That's my thing. But from international press. And it's just first of all, they're ahead of us. That's one thing you'll notice is they are talking about stories before we are. And, and they don't sensationalize it as much. It's more like, this is what happened. This is what happened. And, it's very interesting. I encourage everyone to, I won't name networks right now, but I think listen to foreign press and see what they're saying about the war.
Yeah.
You will hear a much different take on it. So now let's listen to our favorite conspiracy theorist.
Ankles swell up 3 times the size they were before. That means heart failure. And he does look sick. And he does babble and, sound like the brain's not doing too hot.
Ugh.
And so we just cut bait on Trump. We need to be sad about Trump. This is not funny. This is not good.
He shows his cankles.
But he's gone. And that's it.
It actually seems like he's
people rallied around him. You can see Hegseth's freaked out. You can see the press secretary's freaked out. They're being loyal. They think it's the lesser of 2 evils. And okay, but I just, Trump needs intervention. He needs to take some time off. Trump is in free fall, and that means we're in free fall in the midterms.
When you've lost Alex Jones, when Donald Trump loses the lunatic fringe like that, Donald Trump is on the way to losing everything. Much more reasonable Republicans than Alex Jones have already abandoned Donald Trump because of his war. And now the president in free fall is completely surrendering in the battle for the Strait of Hormuz. He is promising America and Iran that he will end his war in 2 or 3 weeks. He will leave the oppressive dictatorial Iranian regime in place, the same regime that was in control of Iran before Donald Trump's war. He will leave all of Iran's possible nuclear fuel in Iran. And the only thing he will have to show the American people at the end of his war is a higher price of gas and diesel fuel, which of course means higher prices for everything, and a clogged supply chain around the world. The president, who went to war for no reason, had a lot of explaining to do tonight, but tonight he failed at explaining his war as badly as he has failed at waging his war.
So that aired last night, and I love Lawrence O'Donnell. Just the way he puts it is just precision.
And
but yeah, I mean, I think
currently
Trump is
13 service members.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think MAGA is on its last legs. I really do. I think there's a very small percentage of people that are truly, truly dug in MAGA. They're gonna go to the wheels, like they're going to the grave with that man. But the other people that dabble in it, I think they're not gonna say it, but I think they're breaking off. I really do. I think
I'm just saying next time there's not going to be an attempt. Next time it's going to be on purpose, because I think that's the only way they get out of this alive at the party. I think that because the martyrdom factor is key there. And I think that is once they believe that it's a lost cause, like there's no directing this man, like he's now too much of a liability. I don't think there's anything that would stop them from doing that. And I think y'all need to be on the lookout below, because they orchestrate things like this all the time when they know they've lost too much ground. And I'm surprised they've let it get this far, to be honest. But I feel like having these podcasters lose it on issues that are really the foundational issues for MAGA, right? Like this isn't just like nitpicking. This is the difference between Biden and the Democrats and the MAGA Republicans, right? Like the Democrats are like, ugh, like look at what he wore today. Like they're like so picky. They're like down to the, what kind of shoes was he wearing? Did he bike to the office? Like, but the Republicans are like, did he start a war? Did he start a war because he promised us he wouldn't? And they're waiting for an explanation. They're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's like the Epstein files. That's how, like I said, he retained some of them is because they justified it that the Democrats had the files for so long. We know that's bullshit. That's not what happened. But they lie to them, and their base believes it. They can't lie about the war. This is the problem. There's nobody to blame it on. They have control of all branches of government right now. Everybody knows that. It's been a whole year. This isn't like he just took office. There comes a point where he cannot point fingers at anybody but himself, and that's where they're at. And I think that last night was ridiculous, obviously, but I think it was a problem. And I think the cognitive impacts, and then of course we saw him the other day like actively slurring his words, like that's becoming more and more prevalent. That's happening more and more of the time. His hands, like the paint, like the paint that they're getting to cover it up is like it's becoming bigger, and
falling asleep.
I think
crustier.
The falling asleep, yeah, crustier, like all the things. Like it's just this man isn't well, and it's evident. Also because we're not seeing him play golf. We're seeing him swing a golf club, and then that's it, right? Like that's all we're seeing. And that's because this man can't play golf anymore. He can't do the things he used to do. He's physically not well enough. And it's only a matter of time before they cut off the press from interacting with him, like in a live situation. I think it's getting to the point where they're not going to be able to keep people in a room with him. Because like if he passes out, or if he falls asleep, or if I don't want to talk about the bodily fluids part, but like that, like
him give one of his long speeches sitting down and get up and walk out of
and that too, right?
That is something that we need to see, because
even when he gave his State of the Union, he was laying across the podium, the lectern, and like really propping himself up for a large part of that. I'm surprised they didn't like put a pillow under his kneeling there. I'm surprised he made it that long, to be honest. But I agree with you. The mobility is a factor that doesn't send the message of strength, which is very important to these people. So you've got somebody that's not doing what they said they were going to do, and they also look like somebody that was resurrected from like Pet Sematary at this point, like, or one of the aliens from Men in Black. It doesn't look human at this point. People don't have that doesn't inspire confidence when you've started a war with a foreign nation in the Middle East. Yeah, I was surprised his speech was only 20 minutes too. How is he surviving on Big Macs and Diet Cokes? Like I mean, he's not doing really well, but he is older. I don't care if he has the best medical care.
Money
I don't care. There's only so much healthcare can do.
they can give him infusions and all this shit that we're not getting. So this is how.
No, I've had those vitamin B, like whatever things. You feel good for like a day.
He's getting the extra good stuff, the stuff that we don't see.
The experimental drugs that we don't have access to. Yeah.
They're putting Ensure in his milkshake.
So he signed this executive order, basically trying to. I think the big thing was trying to limit or put limits on mail-in voting, right?
Yeah.
That is anyway. That's going to get tied up in courts. I wish Adam was here. Adam will be here maybe our next time because I know he has a lot to say about this. But I don't think this will be in effect for 2026. I just don't see.
It will not.
Yeah,
it will not. And did we watch him go to the Supreme Court and get embarrassed?
Yeah, I couldn't see because I wasn't at a TV. I could hear. So yeah, tell me more.
Well, there's no cameras.
There's no cameras. Yeah, you can't see.
So you just see that, like, so when I say see, I mean like the visual representation of the drawing of Ketanji Brown Jackson, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, talking to President Trump and the other justices watching. That was a great. Like, I want to frame that. I'm gonna probably get a picture and put it in my office. Like, I really like that. Although I don't like him in it, and that's the other thing is like I don't want his face anywhere that I see it.
Powering over.
I know she is, but I have to remind myself that he exists, and I don't want that. So anyway, but yes, that's going to be in textbooks, and it was a lovely photo. Also, to Chris Q's point last night, because I hadn't seen it until today. I saw the actual quotes, but I didn't actually hear the exchange between Gorsuch.
Between and Sawyer. Yeah.
I shared Reb's video. Did you see it on TikTok?
Yes.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Or Sour, excuse me.
That's exactly what I was thinking, which is like, this is so representative of the Trump administration to come in, not only having not done their homework, but somehow having done it so egregiously bad. Like, just like the idea that you would go to Gorsuch and talk to him about with no care for indigenous people.
Was it you who said, forget, somebody said it's like talking to Cookie Monster and thinking the cookies aren't going to come into the conversation at any point.
Yeah. Like she was like, it's like talking to James Cameron about like shipwrecks and being like, if they said, oh, is the Titanic a shipwreck? And the person went, you know what? I didn't know you were going to ask me that. Like that. It's like, it is that. It's exact. And it's hard to explain to people who don't follow law or don't follow the Supreme Court. But when I was in graduate school, my professor he would write books about them. So he knew. So I met Justice Ginsburg and I went and sat in on oral arguments in the Supreme Court. It is pretty powerful. It's pretty amazing. And back then, we still revered that institution, right? Like that was still the one that you were like, that's the good one, yeah. And I am going to tell you right now, like the idea that you would just show up and like have clearly not planned to address the very basics is so representative of this administration and how they've just shitted on every other brand, like every part of our government.
The good thing that came out of it is worst case scenario, it's 7-2.
Yeah.
So
I think so.
They're not winning this case.
Why do they even agree to hear this anyway? Like I think what are they arguing that the constitutional, the 14th Amendment, the Constitution is unconstitutional? Like
that it hasn't been that the justices that the Supreme Court has just the way that they did Roe, the same way that the way that they interpreted that particular, the 14th Amendment was not interpreted correctly. So that's how they always do it with cases like this. Is like that
there's some things in the Constitution that are like, I don't know.
It's crazy.
So clear.
Well, because it used to be that you would not go back and because basically what you're saying is previous courts got it wrong. And the justices have yeah, and they also it's like I said, this is the institution that was revered, and in that reverence, this is how you saw somebody like Scalia get along with somebody like Ginsburg, right? And how that they could coexist was because there was this respect for the court at large and the decisions that had been made. For courts to overturn previous courts' decisions, it had to be a significant breach of justice or something that had evolved to a point where it was so necessary to do that. And you just don't bring that up. Like it's such a disrespectful motion to even begin to have this discussion when, like, if you are not 100% sure that what you're doing is like being called for in the times of history, like, you know, something like Brown versus Board, like when we're getting into issues of civil rights, and that this is like, they're just like, hey, you know, we got Roe flipped, let's try for this, like, right? Like, I do think that it's a little bit like they're rolling the dice and trying to see how they're going to get in. This didn't work, so they'll go back and they'll try something else, and then they'll provoke some sort of a situation at the state level, and they'll try to get this another case brought to the Supreme Court. Like, this is what's going to keep happening. The Republicans try to use legal means to break the law all the time.
The trouble with the Supreme Court is it's a complete black box as to what cases they choose to accept and don't. And so you're never going to know the answer to that. So the best you can hope for is that the outcome is in your favor. And I think the good thing about this is you have cases like, I think the worst case is the presidential immunity case, where they just completely made up that decision out of whole cloth. That nothing existed in the world that allowed for that decision, but they did it anyway. So the fact that in this case it's so bad that they are willing to go against Trump, to go against what he wants, and also the realization that even in like the immunity case, that affects Trump, that affects one person, or at best that affects the president. Here is a case where this would completely upend the entire nation. It would completely upend every single person's citizenship would be called into question. Every person that was born in the entire nation, you would have hospital staffs trying to figure out if the parents are citizens or not. You know, you would have just complete chaos in the entire country. And they're smart enough to know that even they don't want to go there.
So before we move on, let's just listen to this clip, because anyway, you'll see.
If Americans today are birthright citizens under your test and under your friend's test?
I think so. I mean, obviously they've been granted citizenship by statute.
Put aside the statute. Do you think they're birthright citizens?
No, I think the clear understanding that everybody agrees in the congressional debates is that the children of tribal Indians are not birthright citizens.
I understand that's what they said, but your test is the domicile of the parents, and that would be the test you'd have us apply today, right?
Yes, yes. So if a tribal Indian, for example, gives up allegiance to...
Born today, birthright citizens.
I think so on our test. Yeah, if they're lawfully domiciled here.
Okay. And then,
I'm not sure.
I mean, I think this is so embarrassing. I don't understand like how this is like a good use of time. It's just, I hope this ends up in the history books, and the Supreme Court has an extremely low approval rating as it is. This is not helping, and I know they don't give a shit. But it's like this is
an example of something where you may not hear as much of this in mainstream media, but I so promise you that people behind the scenes are having conversations. Like after that, 100%, some people are talking about that, because especially for people that are like establishment Republicans, people that predate this Trump administration, that was embarrassing. That's really embarrassing. And it's disrespectful to the court, sure, but it's also embarrassing. And it's hard to explain to people that aren't like in SCOTUS stuff. But that's why, like, it may not be a mainstream conversation for very long or at all, but 100% that shifted some opinions behind the scenes. And this is what's going to keep happening, is stuff like this. These antics that keep happening are happening too often and too close together and too big, right? Like when the other place where this is happening is the military. And remember, I've said that that's another place you can't fuck with, right? There are certain things you just can't. And I think that the Supreme Court is a place where, again, people still have a lot of reverence for that institution. The military is another. A lot of people have reverence for it and respect for it and continue to protect them. And when you start using them as well, this is not sustainable, is what I'm saying. At some point, something's going to have to give. And I don't think they're to the point where, in authoritarian fascism even, where they can really pull the plug on democracy all told. Like, I don't think they're there yet. And so they've got to, I don't know, I'm very concerned about what they think they're going to do, because I don't know if it's going to be another big stunt, like I said before, or something's got to change with the status quo, because they don't have the leverage and support that they need to win at midterms. And right now, like as of now, and they don't have the control over the states. Clearly, like ICE is trying, they can't, like we've seen, they can't do it, like, and they can't do it at the same time, certainly. So, and I don't think they can do it to enough of them yet. That doesn't mean that they can't eventually, or I'm not saying that. I'm just saying as of right now, I don't think that they have the stronghold that they would need. So, but that makes them more desperate at some point. And so I don't know how that turns out for us.
So this is interesting too. Speaking of elections, I think there's an opportunity here that may really not be the obvious one.
Members of the House have announced they will not run for re-election this fall. That's including 36 Republicans, which is a modern record. The GOP group includes powerful committee leaders and rank and file members from red swing districts, along with other members who are caught up in redistricting battles. How significant is this number of 36 Republicans, and what could it mean heading into the midterms?
I mean, this is a really big warning sign for Republicans, and it is a record number. It's more Republicans that we've seen retiring than we have in decades. And you have to remember, when it comes to elections, incumbents tend to have an advantage. And so when an incumbent decides that they're not going to run for re-election, that makes a seat easier to flip. It's an opportunity for Democrats as they try to regain some power in the House, and as they try to regain power not only in the House, but also in the Senate.
So I think what I just am calling out, that Trump has to have his hand in the new Republican that is going to be running to fill these seats. I think that makes it easier for Democrats, because he's going to try and have the most extreme Trumpian candidate possible.
He will be an albatross around their neck.
Yeah. So I think these are real opportunities. Like, I don't care how plus 20 red it is or whatever. I think Democrats need to be taking all of these seriously, and I'm sure they are. I mean, it's just, these are real opportunities.
I think that they are taking it seriously, and I think that the elections they've already flipped have been, or in the districts that are safe that they've flipped, have already been sort of like a feather in the cap, so to speak. Like they're emboldening and they're bolstering. The only problem we have with this, and this is what we keep saying, is that we don't want the Democratic Party to take credit for this and sit back on their laurels and say, "Oh, okay, we did it. We did it. We did it, Joe. No, you didn't. No, you didn't, y'all. Sit back. This is not done yet." And people are not happy with the Democrats. They're just very unhappy with the Trump administration.
And also, there are some good Democratic candidates, and they 100%. Know they may not be on board with the party, but they know a good candidate. People, and so I hope more people realize too, like, you always have to make a choice. You always you don't stay home. You don't, you pick the better of two evils, as that's what you got. Like, I mean, God forbid we end up with two Republicans on our general ballot in
California.
I'm not going to stay home. I'm going to be between one of those two.
Yeah, that's right. So. Well, listen, we're not going to manifest that. We're going to manifest some, like, I was telling Chris Q today, I was like, look, I can't, if they fumble California, I can't at this point justify it anymore, because there's all these, how long people have been coming for me and saying that the two parties are complicit, that they are together in this, and it's a giant conspiracy. And I said, no, but yes, some people are benefiting, and yes, there are some bad Democrats, like there always are, it's like nobody's perfect, but on the whole, no. Like, and if you're hearing everybody now, because Chris was like, get everybody in a room and figure this shit out.
Get in a room. They need to have a Royal Rumble, and whoever walks out, and that's the nominee, because God forbid it's 2 Republicans.
And this is what I said. I was like, the Republicans take people to these retreats and they sit them down, and I don't know if what they put in their mimosas, but they get everybody together and they manage to somehow get everybody on the same page. And I swear to God, if the Democrats don't take all of those California nominees and put them in a retreat spa weekend and like just address the fuck out of this, like it's got to be done. It needs to be done. But if they don't, because everybody can see this right now, right? Like I'm like, it's not just us. Like we can all see this.
I mean, I think
I'm not
there's
in
not
California.
enough awareness, and that's what we got to work on. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I guess put me in the room. I'm there. We need to address this because God forbid.
Incompetency is not exclusive to Republicans.
No, it's true.
Let me just say that. Yeah. So this is a big part of what happened in California that we're starting to see. And this goes to like our recent debate or non-debate experience. There is like, in what world or what am I missing here? While we didn't plan 3 debates, we planned 1 debate, which was going to end up being all white candidates. And they weren't even in order. And they canceled it because the uproar was so great. They should have planned 3 debates. 2, they should have mixed up the field. 2 were like higher on the polling, lower on the like mix it up like that. Then the top 5, the final debate. Yeah. And like now we have nothing. Is there another debate? I don't know.
I mean, I don't think that the other problem is like the absence of competition. People think is such a great thing, but this is also what happens, right? Like when you get into places where they have strongholds, you get into a position where you're like, well, obviously a Democrat's going to win. And now we're looking at it and we're like, are you, what? And so these Republican places where they didn't have any Democratic competition, the Republicans ran away with it. And now they look like crazy MAGA land, right? Like that's partially because there wasn't any thought behind it, right? There wasn't any competition. And so right now, this should be a really big warning sign to the Democratic Party of like, you need to structure your states need to get their shit together as well. And everybody needs to be giving 110%. And the money needs to be going to all of these contests, not just the ones that you think are winnable, right? Like the strategies need to be in play for places that you think are winnable and places that you don't think are winnable. And maybe they look different. Maybe the strategies look different, but the attention to it, like the care and initiative need to be given. And the communication and like we could go on about this all night long, but like just basically this should have never gotten to this point in the first place. There shouldn't have been that many nominees.
I want to make one other point and then we can move on, but everybody needs to understand that the way our law is set up here for the ballot, your name is on the ballot, even if you drop out. Once you've met the filing deadline and all the things you need to do, these candidates are still on the ballot. These low polling Democratic 1% candidates are still going to be on the ballot. So when hopefully they suspend their campaigns, it needs to be loud. It needs to be loud. We on social media need to blast like so-and-so dropped out, blah, 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 because those names are still going to be on the ballot. And they're not in order of like, this is the top polling to the bottom polling. Right, so they're going to all be mixed up. And so it's going to thin the voting pool of Democrats. So it's
inevitably
extremely alarming. It really is.
It just does it no matter what. Like even if they run the cleanest campaign from now on, like say tomorrow there was a nominee and that nominee was the nominee and the Democrats rallied around that person, they probably would still win, sure, but they absolutely are going to be impacted by this, like 100%. So imagine if this continues is the problem. Imagine if this keeps going. That's
we're going
to
have to make a change in California. Like they're like 100%. I don't care. I don't know where I have to march, but like
I'm ready to fly out there.
I'm
ready to fly out there and help you. I can't. Yeah. This is like I'm having anxiety for you. Like it's very stressful on the East Coast to watch this.
We can't
afford a mess.
So ticket out there.
I can't afford a plane ticket out there. You're right.
What gas prices are?
This economy.
Do you know what?
TSA? I'll be there for like a whole day.
No Kings rally was, last Saturday, very successful. 8 million attendees, all 50 states. Let's play a clip. This is one of my favorite clips. Maybe y'all won't like this, but.
A MAGA supporter from the very beginning. You know, I believed in him. I thought that he would end wars, like he said in his campaign. He said he wouldn't start wars. He said he'd bring peace to the Middle East. Now look at us. We're further from peace and closer to catastrophe than ever before. I feel so betrayed.
So I don't know if he's real. I'm gonna be honest, because he sounds like made up. But the fact that he says he feels so betrayed, like literally, dude. Trump has not changed. Like he's still like, what did you not hear? So he's finally realizing it's affecting him, just like so many Republicans are. I applaud that he's out there marketing and all that shit.
Why don't they? This is what you like. Again, if whoever's from the Democratic Party, if you're still watching, here's a freebie. Go find people, like pay people. They don't have to be real. The Republicans don't hire real people. They hire fake bots all the time. You need to hire more people like this to go get interviewed that like say, oh, I used to be for MAGA and now look at them. Like, look at all the things he's not doing for us. That's like the Joe Rogans and stuff. They need people in real life to come out and evangelize against them and how he has ruined them for the Republican Party. And if more people are recorded saying that, it has so much more weight than whatever a Democrat could say, like, right? Like, and whatever a Democratic candidate could say. This could change things. This is the warfare now, right? Like, this is how you do it. It's like you pay influencers to say stuff like this on camera.
Yeah. One last No Kings clip, and then we'll move on to our last segment.
The lack of diversity here today, that it's mostly people who look like you and I, and I just
This is not.
So real quick, look at the, well, it's real small, but the expression on his face. This is Nate Friedman, who is spending his time at these rallies trying to prove that we are paid protesters. So I just want everybody to know where this is coming from. It's not from a good place. It's not a genuine question.
No.
He's trying to show that Black people aren't showing up, and we'll talk about that.
It is not for Black people, for people of color to get out on the street. They're at risk when they do that. If anybody's going to get arrested here, it's going to be a Black person. It is not safe for them, and they don't need to participate. We need to walk in their name.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. Okay. What do you think about voter ID? Do you think it's racist?
That doesn't fit my
It's
narrative.
100% a tactic to control the population and prevent people from voting, so that the only votes so that the gerrymandering can work, so that white voters can vote in white Christian males.
Have you been voting blue most of your life?
I voted blue in the womb.
Ah, wonderful.
Yeah.
If you had to vote for a Republican, J.D. Vance or Rubio, which one would you pick if you had to?
Yeah. I would slit my throat.
I love that lady. I want to meet her one day and buy her a drink. She's fantastic. So
this is why they never interview people like me. They can tell she was unsuspecting. They look at someone like me and they're like, oh man, that's not the one. But they thought they could get it with her, and she's like, no way. I love it.
So that's, I did not go to this No Kings protest. I went to the previous two. I did not go to this one.
I was sick because I started getting sick on our live last week. I could feel it. And I was like, oh no. And I sure as hell woke up on Friday with like the worst sore throat. I was sick, proper sick. And I didn't want to get anybody sick. So I kept my ass home. But this is why I think, for people that are very opposed to them, this is why I think it's good for the white people to get out. For two reasons. Number one, for community, right? Like to learn, like especially hyper local. Like I'm a big fan. If you can go to a protest, like a rally, a march, whatever, like try to do it in your neighborhood, like as close to your neighborhood as possible, right? Like don't go into DC, like don't go into like Philadelphia, don't go into the big cities. Go to your neighborhood.
Good about this. They had them all over.
Yeah, go to your neighborhood, meet your neighbors, try to exchange information with at least one or two people, and really try to plug in and get to create these relationships with people. But the second reason is because of this, because we need people that look like her saying those things. Like that needs to be said over and over and over and over to the point where it's normalized and it's repeated. Like it like we have to indoctrinate them back. Like only with the truth, right? Like with the realities. And this is how you do it. And I think this is why like humor has a place here. That's why the signs are great. Like that's a part of it, but it has to be like that, you know, you're standing up and getting on camera, doing things like this, because that is impactful. I think it is.
So on that note, let's move on to the general strike that's planned for May 1st.
King's organizers and hundreds of unions and other groups nationwide are.
I do want to say one little thing. So you heard Rachel Maddow say the No Kings organizers. So I had seen this. This is actually the first I had heard of this, to be honest. I posted the clip the other night. And so I was under the impression it was the No Kings organizers. I just want to say that that is not true. It is some people that organize the No Kings movement or events, but it is not the No Kings organization that is behind this. They are leaving it up to the individual chapters to endorse or not endorse. There's others that are behind this, but not them. So let's continue.
Planning what they're calling a nationwide general strike on May 1st. A general strike, as in no work, no school, no shopping. Friday, May 1st.
So then our friend, so I'm very supportive of this idea. Casey and I were talking about it. I don't know, like for me, I'm supportive of it because I can also afford to, you know, not work a day. We're not going to starve by not going out to eat or to bring in food that day. I can do without shopping. This is one day. And so I posted about this and a lot of the replies were like, that's not enough. Like there is not going to be any retail pain from one day. And I think that's a really strong point. So my other question is like, what does success look like with this? Like with the No Kings protests, we could see on the streets the numbers, and we have the numbers. Like we know there were 8 million. Like it's been going up with each protest. There's 3 now. What does success look like here? And so that left me like having a little bit of pause. Do I support it still? Yes, but there's some other things that give me pause. But anyway, here's some really good guidelines or points made by our friend Green and Orange and OC. She's saying that you know, for this to work, you can't go on a shopping spree in advance and think, oh, I'm gonna stock up on food. I'm gonna do whatever. First of all, it's one day. You can just live on what you have.
Yeah, just eat some peanut butter and crackers, like y'all. Like live like elder millennials did in the 80s and 90s. You'd be fine. Some cinnamon toast, no big deal. Put some butter on it. You good.
And hook up with mutual networks that are doing this and find out what they're doing and support them. Great advice. And then we have to be understanding that there's people, if you're like a server, if you're a hairstylist, so this is on a Friday. And that is like a very busy day if you are working in a restaurant or if you are doing hair or nails or whatever. So some people cannot participate in this, and I don't think we should hold that against them. I think it's for the rest of us to carry that weight. That's just my opinion. But some people cannot do that. So I think that's a little bit of a flaw here, but not that big of it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, especially like small businesses and stuff, right? Like that's not who this isn't supposed to hurt the small businesses. This is supposed to hurt the larger corporations at large.
So here's what they're asking for. Because my thing was like, what is the ask? What does success look like?
Yeah.
They want $25 an hour minimum wage. Fine. My own opinion about minimum wage, though, it's
an empty number without.
In California, is very different from $25 an hour in Mississippi.
Yeah.
But as a general thing, minimum wage is too low in most states. They want higher taxes on billionaires and corporations. I think most of us would agree that.
Check.
Yeah, that's fine too. They want national rent control and universal child care. I need to know more about that. I don't know what the fuck that looked like. That's too broad. Universal child care, yes. National rent control, again.
That's
that's very like, what does that mean? You know, so like
I agree.
Rent in California is way too high, but I don't think you can go by like, you know, Utah rent and say it needs to be that. So I need more. I think that they should take that out. That's my opinion, because it's not fleshed out. It's not clear. And
I don't know how when you get into states like where things look so different, like that begins to look real different state to state. So It's not even like an aspirational goal of making rent affordable. Like, even if you had like, I know, I understand they're trying to do tangible things, and I do like that because I want tangible goals that we can meet. But I'd almost rather have something that's a little more gray or nebulous, like, just because it would feel more doable. And that doesn't.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, we can't do things like this and hurt the people that we're trying to help.
Right,
so I think we
right.
need to realize that. I just think there's some little flaws that hopefully between now and May they work out. I have a friend that was on an organizing call for this today, and some of the things I can say, they weren't like when she asked my questions, like what does success look like? And the answer was success looks like they have 50 more people protesting this time than last time. So that was another element here that I was not aware. They are wanting, in addition to the general strike, they are also wanting protests. They are also wanting us to go and protest, which I think makes sense, like make your voices heard or whatever. I don't think that equals success. That sounds like another No Kings situation. But then the other element that really gave me pause is they want civil disobedience. And I got the paperwork I got the guidelines for this, and that's not in writing. This is what they discussed on the call with civil disobedience, and they could do civil disobedience training if you wanted to do a chapter in an area. Now, I think there's a very good reason to have civil disobedience at the right time. My personal take, and tell me yours, I think civil disobedience makes sense, and I think the training part of it is good. Like if they can organize some civil disobedience training groups where people understand, we learn, then we teach other people. I'm for that, but I think it needs to be in response to something. I don't think we just go out and do civil, like close the freeway. I think it needs to be like, I'm not wishing anything, but like people got arrested for for some crazy nefarious reason. Like he was arresting all the journalists, or they're shooting and killing people, people of color or whatever it is, like women.
You went to sit at the lunch counter because you weren't allowed to sit at the lunch counter, and you got arrested for sitting at the lunch counter to protest not being allowed to sit at the lunch counter.
Right.
It's a very specific action for a very specific purpose.
And so that's not clear here. And then this is the thing, because I asked, were there any Black people on the call? And I was told one. And
what?
I have a very big problem.
Oh my God.
They're trying to encourage civil disobedience. This is when I really say, Black people, stay home. I will be out there if they're attacking Black folks or whatever, but just to start some shit, and Black people, we don't need to be on the front lines because it will go off the rails. We will be the first one shot.
I mean, nobody should be on the front lines. They don't know what they're doing. So, okay, this bothers me.
I'm opposed to the entire thing for a lot of reasons.
Tell us, Chris.
Wait. Before you say that, can I ask you, did they go over, like you said, what they wanted? Did they say what, like, other than those achievements, was there anything that they were documenting as evidence that it would be a successful, like, what are their numbers they're trying to achieve?
That was the big problem. It was more like we are, it needs to be more than last time. What last time? There was, I remember there was a boycott or whatever.
Yeah.
A few months ago, I don't even think it was a few months ago. It was like maybe a month or two ago. And I never hear, this is the problem with boycotts. The problem you never hear after. Like, remember there was a boycott for Amazon, Target, and the other one. Target on its own is a whole nother thing. And that's but
outlier.
They grouped a couple of big box stores or whatever. You're not supposed to shop there. And it was like a 5-day thing, I think. We never heard after, like, this is the measurable success.
Right. That's my question. Okay.
So it's like this kind of thing. I don't think it really works unless they have real goals and that are measurable.
Measurable goals. And this is what I've been saying for everything. This should be for everything.
They're asking.
Because you're not going to get that.
Yeah. They need to be really pointed.
You need to get measurable goals and reasonable outcomes that are achievable and that aren't setting you up for failure. And this should be communicated. And I also just was telling you before, this should be done everywhere, because people will do more if you give them those bars to meet. Like if you say, let's go run a mile, you're going to run at a different pace than if you say, we can do a 9-minute mile, let's do it, right? Like, and you set an actual pace goal. People will be more likely to meet that because they will work towards that. The average person may not know a lot about politics, but if you tell them, hey, we're going to cut into the profits this much today, or this week, or whatever, then at least that's something you can measure, and then you can decide if it was successful afterwards. But anyway, Chris, what were you going to say? Because that was my question. I wanted to know if there were measurable. Chris Q, like, what were you going to say? You don't agree with it?
Tell me there were no teachers planning this without telling me.
Yeah,
So it's a month away. There's not enough time. There has been no scaffolding. There has been no groundwork for this, and I think Casey just hit the nail on the head of if there are not measurable outcomes, then it's irrelevant. And
these are people that have not done curriculum plans. Like they have not planned lessons.
These are people.
My friend was very confused by
these
this.
Are people that were administrators without having taught.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, teacher talk. With any of the boycotts, this was my problem with a lot of the boycotts was you need to make your boycott for something specific. You need to say to the company, we are going to boycott you over this policy, and we want you to change this.
Yes.
And then you lift the boycott.
Yes.
Because they did the thing.
That's right.
If all of those steps are not in place, then it is never going to be successful. And so that's what this looks like to me. And also, we do not have the culture that France has. We do not have the culture of just this mass walkout.
See, I was getting into this too, because I was like, you can't expect people to do things that require a village when you don't have a village. And the same thing goes for the collective mindset and the culture, like you're talking about. It's twofold. It's like there's not an infrastructure that exists to support something like this. That doesn't mean you can't do something like this. It means it can't look like this. And that's the problem.
You could do something like this in a year, but not in a month.
Or something that looks different, than this. Like, I'm not saying that there isn't like a new way of approaching this, right? Like there might be a new way to boycott or a new way to whatever, but it can't look like this without doing all the things you just mentioned, right? Like it can't without that scaffolding, without all that. And I feel like this is like you said, there can't be Black people involved in planning this, all right? Like they didn't have teachers, they didn't have Black people. I don't know who they got to put this stuff together. And I know it sounds a little bit like I'm just out here armchair quarterbacking, but I'm not, because again, like as a teacher, that's one of the things we had to show. And one of the things that a lot of teachers got wrong, you'd be surprised, because when I worked with this company after I left teaching and I did education technology, we had a planner, like a digital planner that would help teachers collaborate when they were planning their curriculum. And it was like considered a backwards design model, and I thought it was crazy because I had started using this when I was teaching, and I thought it was wild. This didn't exist when I first started teaching, which was you had to start backwards, which was what are the kids going to know, and how do you know that they learned it? Before you start planning the tests and what that looks like, the first thing you have to do is say, how do we know that kids have learned 4 + 4 = 8? What does that look like? What would that look like? And then you plan an assessment that will show that. Then you start like working back to how you teach to that assessment. Part of the people like got frustrated because they're like, oh, you're teaching me the test. No, because critical thinking can be a part of that. But it's still like you start from a place of what do you want to achieve? And what does it look like when you've achieved that? Which is exactly what Chris Q was just saying. And I think it's crazy to me that we are here in 2026 in a place where most people have not participated. Because if you think of people that actually participated in the civil rights movement, like that were actively involved, were like my parents' age. Yeah. They're like in their 70s. Like they,
and they were the youngest ones.
That's right. And they were the youngest ones. That's right. So
they're Jesse Jackson. They're John Lewis.
Right. So they're gone. They're gone. And so you've got people who were not engaged in that, trying to replicate things that are not organic and authentic to the time and the era, and it doesn't make sense, and that's why it's not impactful. Chris Webb was talking about how the Target thing looks so different and as an outlier, and part of that is the authenticity of that and the organic response that you mentioned.
That was grassroots. It was not
right.
planned. It was in response to a very
and it made sense.
Actions with Target, and I will never go back in that store. So
and it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And so this has to be like, and I think part of it is also recognizing that what looks different and what needs to be done in California might look different than what needs to be done in Florida or in Vermont or wherever.
They should keep that in mind when they're coming
100%.
up with these goals. So I would offer that, like, I don't want to be so negative on these things.
Yeah, I don't want to be.
Civil engagement is positive. I would look at this more as an opportunity to have these discussions. Like, I don't think the way this is outlined now, I don't see the success. I don't see how this is measurable in success. But like, if there's more information put out that are things that we can talk about, I think we should talk about them. I think, fairness in taxation and all these things. These are things we've been talking about forever, but I think these are opportunities. Like, these kind of actions are opportunities to continue that discussion with your children or whatever. So from that point of view, great. I'm kind of neutral on this. I was very positive out of the gate.
You were to be fair, you were very nice. Like, you were open-minded, which is nice. That's good. But
as I'm learning about this, I want to learn more. Let me put it that way. I want to continue I think this is probably the longest discussion we're going to have on this, but as we have more information, we'll bring updates to people that are watching, and very clear-eyed updates. And I think they have work to do.
This is one where I might participate in the sense that I wouldn't buy things that day, but I might not also share that information out. Like, it might not be something that I feel comfortable sharing out, and especially not the civil disobedience part, because it sounds like they have not done that at all.
I'm not encouraging anybody to do that.
Yeah, I do think it's important that they are hearing the criticisms about No Kings, because No Kings doesn't continue that, right? Like, and it does need to continue. Like, it needs to move somewhere. And part of that is the civil disobedience, right? You got to be able to make something, like, put your body in between them and raise the stakes that way, whatever. I don't know what that looks like in 2026, but I know it's not going to be done in less than a month, and I know these people aren't the ones doing it. So, like, bypass that.
I'm going to participate.
Right. But I'm not going to share out. But if you're wondering why I'm not,
I'm going to tell Beth that on Friday, May 1st, I'm not doing any housework. None. Sorry.
But I'm just saying, I'm not going to, if you're wondering why I'm not sending out a bunch of stuff about this, it's because I'm not super happy with what I've seen in terms of the organization of it. But I also don't want to, like you said before, I don't want to yuck someone's yum, in the sense that I do think that this is like a reasonable thing to do. One day is very reasonable, and most people can achieve this. So I think it's something that should be done. But I'm also like we could do better next time,
in the
probably.
correct direction.
Yeah, to Michelle's point, Grumpy Bunny's point, the Tesla protests were effective. It got a lot of attention, but it was targeted, and it was for a reason. It was in response to Doge. It was in response to Elon Musk. And this is like all over the place. Like this, they need to get there's time to like make it better. I hope they do. I want to make one other point when I was talking about conversations. Like, I think it's so important, and I'm not saying other groups do not do this. I don't know if they do it. I'm Black, so this is my lived experience. But Black families, we talk about voting. We talk about it throughout the year. We talk, like, when elections are coming up, we talk about, like, who is better, who should we be voting for, what do you know, because we are used to being targeted. This is generational for Black families. And I think unless you are, it's one thing to be like, for example, LGBTQ. That's not generational though. That is your experience. Those are the people surrounding you, and you have to deal with being a target and how you're going to vote your way out of that, hopefully. But like what I'm talking about with with systemic racism, with the civil rights movement. This is things we knew our grandparents experienced. These are things we knew our parents experienced. This is generational that we are dealing with. So we know the importance of voting. You know, in my own household, my son made a comment once, well, why should I vote? Because he was mad at, you know, a certain candidate that was going to be the nominee and it wasn't his. And I was like, I wanted to kill him because I was like, I would love for you to tell your grandparents that they way worse of a choice than you, and they always voted. So that's my TED Talk. I'm done.
This is the problem. It's not happening. And I like coming from a very like a white Southern family, politics, and my parents were teachers. They were Democrats, and that's how they voted. And I knew that, but like, because I was observant and I was the autistic observant child, they don't talk about that. And as we got older, and I think I told you all this, that like when we had kids, that was our line in the sand, that we basically were like, hey, if you're voting for Donald Trump, especially in 2020, like you're not welcome around our children. Like you're not safe for our kids. Right. And so my mom wouldn't tell us who she was going to vote for. And she's always been like that. So people are like, oh, that means she was voting for Trump. Nope. She's always been like that from day one. It was always like, that was her. She never told, she would always say, I don't tell your father. I don't tell anybody. That's my vote, from as young as I can remember. Right. And we went into the whole privilege of that, and we had that discussion, and I was like, well, then, and she didn't see her grandkids for 6 months. And I tell you that my mom is like a kid's mom, you know, like she's a grandma, like, right. And she's still probably to this day really mad at me for that. But I was like, listen, you just got to say you're not voting for him, and that's it. Like, and she finally did, but she was like, she usually writes in, and we knew that she's like a writer in her, which is a whole other battle to wage. But I'm just saying, the point is that politics aren't discussed in the South that way. It was considered rude. It was considered something that was like uncomfortable, and white people don't do uncomfortable stuff. Like that's just, that whole culture has to change.
I get that. Like in my culture, it's survival. It's about,
well, that's what needs to be discussed. Like
we have our crazies too. I'm not saying we don't. We have MAGA.
No. This is what white people have to see, is that eventually it will be about your survival. You see what happens eventually, it does affect you, but you're just so far down the line that you've never had to worry about it before. And that's why, but I think there needs to be a lot of honest discussions about this. Like a lot of people need to be honest. And this, when people criticize No Kings, this is the one place where I say you're 100% right. Because if you're not also having these conversations with your relatives back home, right? Like, or if you've already burned those bridges because they've all unfollowed you and blocked you on Facebook, then your neighbors or your Costco greeters or whoever you have relationships with in your immediate area, to have that like everyday conversation and start correcting those like beliefs that you can't talk about politics. But that also means that there has to be a way to have that conversation for people who, I mean, not the ones that are the people we talked about at the front of this pod or the live stream. Okay. Not the people that are actively seeking to harm you, but the other people, like the white people, have to make space for the Trump people that are leaving Trump or leaving Republicans and coming over. Like you're going to have conversations with them. Like you're going to have to build some bridges, I guess. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not looking forward to it either, but like, how else are they going to learn? Someone's got to teach them. It's got to be us. Black people shouldn't have to do it. Like, it's not their business. They're the ones that did it all right. Not like we're the ones that have to do it.
I think the call to action can be everybody have these conversations in your household. Maybe they're
100%.
Maybe they're uncomfortable, but find a way. Like
but not just once. Like you said, it needs to be a part of the fabric of your family and like what you do. It needs to be something that's discussed and is connected back to you and your family. Like you said, it was about your survival. So now it has to be about your children or about.
You don't have to mention Trump. It could be like, you know, and I believe women should be able to have the rights to bodily autonomy. This is what that means, you know, Sally or whatever. Let's talk about that for a while. Like you should be able to control your body when you're an adult or whatever. And so we should pick the candidate that is going to support us in that right. Like things like that.
Start local. That'll make it easier for you. Because listen, it's so fucking boring to talk about whether a stop sign should go up in your neighborhood. And most people aren't you know what I mean? Nobody's fighting about that. But that's where it starts, right? Start with the hyper local discussions of who's going to be city council person and what policies they whatever. Because that opens the door to have bigger issues going forward. If you're able to talk about your neighborhood, your local politics, that's really where most stuff happens anyway. That's going to affect you, your local and state stuff. But also it begins the whole having political conversation thing. And you don't feel nobody gets hurt because it's about a speed bump. This is not about something involving someone's life. But eventually you get there. Eventually, hopefully, I think. I don't know. My mom might be a lost cause, y'all. I really still work on it. But my dad, I've converted my dad. Although we do have to say a prayer because he's still on Twitter, and I know the AI is there, and I worry about him because he sent me a few videos to ask me if these are real or not, and I'm like, oh my god, what is he not sending me? But he's very open to the discussions.
Yeah, well, tell him to go on Threads. It's kind of
I know. I think he might even be there because he follows me. I didn't know he followed me on Instagram, and he does. But he's on X for the sports stuff. He does sports. He was a coach, so he's really into all that stuff.
My family's probably a bad example because I was indoctrinated young. I told Casey last night I campaigned for Michael Dukakis in my 5th grade classroom. He won the election in my 5th grade classroom, I'd just like to say. So if he had only hired me,
you did it.
We wouldn't have had HW. But I'm just saying.
There's some people in Minnesota right now that have bragging rights. Aren't they the only ones that? Is that the only state he carried, right? Minnesota?
No, that was Mondale.
Oh, Mondale.
Mondale.
Dukakis only got a couple though, right?
No, that was closer.
It was closer. I don't see. I'm too young. I don't remember.
Jesus.
Sorry. No, I think I'm older than you, so I don't know. I just don't remember. I'm just bad at time. What is time? Anyway, so that's as a government teacher, that's my advice. If you really want to make a difference before the midterms, you got to start talking to people and talking about what's at stake and educating people on little things, finding videos that are funny or something that you think will connect with somebody that you care about. If you can move them on one little issue, that might be enough. And you have to change a whole culture. And that doesn't happen overnight. That's all about relationships. And that's all about building those relationships and continuing those conversations. That takes a long time. That's a commitment that we all have to make. So but yelling at people doesn't do that. I know I yell on my videos, but my videos are sometimes just catharsis for me. So just ignore those and go have conversations with people. Although your signs are really great, I will do a video on that eventually. I just was sick and I didn't have a chance. So I will showcase that.
I'm sure we have years of sign making and
I know, right? Plenty to come.
You'll be able to do the next one. All right, everybody. Well,
we did it. Oh, we didn't talk about Pam Bondi. We'll do that next week, but she's gone. Bye, bitch.
Yeah, whatever.
That's it. That's all we had to say about that. That was it.
We'll talk about a replacement.
They haven't announced it officially, though, right?
I guess not. I don't know.
Just speculation.
I mean, they have to go through confirmation hearings, though.
Yes.
It would just be an interim.
Yes. Right, but I just want to know how hard I have to work.
Todd Blanche is the acting, but yes, someone will have to be appointed.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Trump's former attorney.
Yes.
Great.
It's going to be his new attorney because literally that is what that job has
become. That's what he uses them for.
100%.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, and we shall see you next Thursday. Have a nice night. Good weekend.
Good night.
Happy Easter.
Oh, yeah. Happy Easter.
And Passover.
And Passover.